1:06, and this meeting is now in session. So we'll take up where we left off on agenda item number 3. And we're going to take up with PD or fire. Mr. Ramos, what do you recommend we start with?
Did y'all didn't want to finish utilities?
Did we finish?
We didn't finish.
Metering? No.
Oh, yes, but you still have water plant.
Oh, wastewater and,
Okay,
so
maybe
sorry.
Well, I didn't know if y'all wanted to.
Fast forward. Sorry.
How did you get up here? Oh, jump there, son. How did you come up here?
It's magical. Okay, so we're at water protection,
Where?
correct? Page 116. Demetrio, I was gonna skip you. It was all those prayers you said at lunch. Okay, so water protection, page 116. Yes, ma'am. Miss Moran?
It just occurred to me that this budget book that we're working off of is based on the, these numbers are based on the tax increase. Therefore, we really need to be more diligent about our costs. None of the numbers that were given in this page have been in this handout are.
It has, but we haven't reprinted.
Well, and right now we're looking at the expenses, and we are keeping kind of like if anybody tells us they can make any changes,
Okay.
we're keeping like a separate sheet just to show how each of the, so you can see how we came up with the new
So you're
totals.
giving us some new numbers as we
Yes.
go through these, okay. Ah, you guys thought y'all were
And
gonna
we
be all
also-
easy here.
And we also kind of wanted to see, because we did give y'all some suggestions, but we didn't know if that was something for sure y'all wanted, or we didn't want to make changes too much to this until y'all, I mean, you gave us more, like maybe a little bit more direction or how you would want us to go
But if we
about it.
refer to this is correct.
That is what's in the budget that you
This is still
received.
what's in the budget, so this is not updated either?
Yeah, because this isn't updated, this is just
It doesn't have-
expenses, not revenues.
Mhm.
Right.
So y'all did say that y'all cut about $200-something thousand off from Wednesday till
Well,
Saturday, but that
It's
is,
not in.
Well, I didn't cut it yet.
No.
Those were just some thoughts on how we
Okay.
could, but I didn't know if that was something that y'all agreed to, or did y'all wanna look into it more, or, those are just suggestions.
suggestions,
But you
okay,
will be sharing those with us as we go through the departments where
Mhm.
some of these cuts have been suggested.
perfect.
And just because those were personnel too, I didn't wanna
Okay.
just
Yes.
cut them and then.
At
Yes.
one point, we're gonna have to combine everything into one and get y'all a
Yes,
revised
yes,
document
please.
to be looking
Yeah,
at this.
as I was
'Cause it can get
And we just didn't wanna
sitting
keep
here
printing
going over
books.
this,
Yes.
I said these numbers reflect the effective tax rate increase,
Well, the revenues.
the revenues.
We're only looking at expenses.
But, okay.
Very good. Okay, Mr. Demetrio.
Yeah, do you wanna speak on?
Mayor, council,
Yes, sir.
city staff, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, I'm ready.
But you're holding a ruler. How many do you have over there? Okay,
So
so,
you just wanna do the same format?
just absolutely, that worked great. You wanna lead us?
Then for salaries, which is 5,100, we're looking at a revised amount of 230,952, and requested it be 238,388, which is a difference of 3,847. That would be, the increase would be for,
Is that for Joel?
The increase is for our water plant maintenance tech. A couple of months back, we lost our wastewater maintenance tech, and what I did was have our water plant maintenance tech take care of all 3 plants. And there was an increase on his pay in order to restructure that position.
And they did eliminate that position from the wastewater plant.
Okay.
which probably explains the second item, which is overtime. Revised for 2017 is 26,119. Requested is 27,000.
That's correct.
Okay.
So that doesn't reflect the new position?
On my budget, yes, water plant, yes.
Okay.
And it's been removed from wastewater.
So we went up by 3,000, removed a position, and didn't add a person? Is that what we're
No,
saying?
he's taking care of all 3 plants, the water and 2 wastewater plants. The position was eliminated on the wastewater side.
Okay.
But added to plant?
No.
No.
He just got extra duties. He's taking care of 3 plants other than
Because
just
he
the
was
water.
already considered yours
Correct,
and just doing the other duties.
correct,
Okay. So that's probably where the overtime shows.
correct. We eliminated the position at the wastewater plant.
And that would be a separate budget too.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
you're gonna see it on, we're gonna
Yes.
see because we got an
Decrease.
increase here, we're gonna see a
Yeah.
decrease somewhere else.
Mhm.
Okay, that's basically what I was, like, why did we eliminate a position and actually go up? So, okay.
On overtime.
There's a considerable difference from the 2016 actual on the overtime. Am I looking at the,
Yes.
can someone explain how we went from 137 to 27,000 on the overtime? What was happening back
Oh,
then?
What,
at that
um,
time, you weren't comp, correct? You were,
Salary, but also what happened there was I did not have a relief operator. So when in a promotion from one of my operators to relief operator or field supervisor, he also assumed the duties of a relief operator to reduce the overtime. And that's where those differences are at.
and you also, correct?
But I was accruing, because I was still considered an hourly staff member. I was not on salary.
Okay. Any other questions, council?
Yeah. But we had a huge jump in the salaries, 100,000 in salaries and 100,000, they flopped.
But it's better than overtime pay.
Yeah, we filled the position. Okay.
But what did we increase in benefits?
Right up the
No,
same.
it looks
It's the same
less.
amount of
So it
them.
would write out about the same.
About the same, okay. Just checking.
Okay. Any other personnel questions, council?
See that
No?
work comp jump
Okay.
again.
Move on to materials and supplies.
Supplies, we have, office supplies, we have revised at 275 and requested at 400. Small increase there for office supplies, whatever.
Yes, whatever we need there, copy paper, paper clips, pens, pencils, just the everyday office use.
Seems like you're coming in under budget all the time because you're at 153 and 275, still requesting 400, okay.
Wearing apparel, our revised is 1,900 and requested at 1,200.
Right, also with wearing apparel, we have to include any safety equipment, supplies, safety vests, hard hats, safety, rubber boots, goggles, shields, safety glasses, come out of that fund.
And I did put in for them to receive some safety boots in revised, and we didn't include that for next year's budget. So that's why you do see that decrease of 1,900 to 1,200.
Gasoline, which is the fuel, revised is 7,100, requested is 7,100. Any questions on that?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay, the next one would be your repair and maintenance supplies. Revised is 19,664. The requested amount was 15,000. And 2017, we adopted 15 as well. There's no increase on that one.
What led to that,
Yeah.
to that overage? Was it a one-time incident or?
It's just like on our service, the unforeseen, having to buy the extra material, the extra supplies, the extra parts in order to do that repair in-house.
Okay.
chemicals, which is your large ticket item, revised is 500,000, requested is 500,000. Our amended budget was 425. There is a $75,000 increase there. But it's more in line with the revised for 2017.
Okay.
How are we purchasing these chemicals?
Chemicals are on a bid process. We go out for bid every year. The potential vendor has the option of going to a 1-year bid or a 2-year bid. They can offer either one. Historically, typically, we go with low bid. We have 8 chemicals that we use between water and wastewater, 7 at the water plant, 1 at the wastewater plant. The only chemical that we have in common is chlorine gas. The one chemical that I don't use that is used at water plant is SO2. We award chemical bids at the beginning of the calendar year, not the fiscal year. It's open to anybody and everybody that wants to receive a packet. And that's how the bid process goes.
Do you, who is the current vendor?
We have several. Pardon?
Why do we have several for the different departments?
Because of the different chemicals that we use. Not every vendor produces
All
all the particular products that are being used at either plant.
Okay. Do we purchase from any type of co-op or
No,
anything
none.
like that? We don't go through any type of
None that are, that supply us
cooperative
with a bid.
purchasing? And who is?
To elaborate on that, Ms. Morrow, we went over this yesterday, and actually, the ones that he's using right now, we looked at the buy board.
Mhm.
We haven't seen any of the others, HGAC and some of the other cooperatives, but on the buy board specifically, there was none that he uses. Now, we need to look a little further and see if the ones that are there can supply those chemicals.
Exactly.
We don't know that yet. There weren't a lot of vendors,
Mhm.
and the Metro wasn't too familiar with the ones that were there.
We have a list of about 20 that have showed interest or either have bid in the past. And those are the ones that we supply them with a chemical bid packet every year. And if those that show interest for the following year, we'll supply them with a bid packet with all the specifications that come along with that particular product that we need.
And of the current vendor supplying, how many years has this vendor been supplying?
Again, it all depends. It's either 1 year or 2 year. If I
But I
understand your
mean-
question correctly.
I mean,
They were presented to
How
council
long?
in December this last year.
is it, how long has this vendor been in business with the city?
Chemtrade, for
Suppliers.
example, has changed names several times, but they've been doing business with us probably 15, 20 years. DPC, I can say the same for them. Dixie Petro.
The same vendors? We
Pretty
haven't
much.
changed a vendor?
We change, if
How
not the
often?
vendor, we might change product.
How
Not the product, but they, Chemtrade, for example, they didn't have the caustic contract last year. That was DPC's, but Chemtrade was awarded this year.
I've just been approached by local individuals who have stated that they've attempted to participate in the bidding process.
They've
But
attempted
we
to
seem
what?
to stick to the same vendor
They've attempted to what?
to participate in the bidding process, but we seem to stick to the same vendors. That's
As
why,
long
and
as,
that's why I'm asking the question.
as long as they come forth and ask for a packet, we'll supply them with a packet.
Do we keep a list of underutilized businesses? It's called the Hub. Do we have that for
I
chemicals?
have no idea.
That actually can be, I don't know if the county here supplies them online, but they should be
The
supplied
city
online.
needs to supply a list and put it online. Historically underutilized businesses are businesses that have that designation, and by law, we should be looking at historically underutilized businesses, or at least supply them with a bid packet. We should all have that put on the website, and we should all keep a list of who those businesses are.
Right, and I guess I can review the bid package that
Yes,
was done,
please.
you know, and then we can just make some suggestions from there,
Sure.
moving forward.
You presented that to council in December or January?
in December, and it was awarded in January.
Because we had several that actually nobody even wanted to bid on.
Right.
Yeah, I remember looking through the packets when we got them, and you had several of them that chemicals were nobody even wanted to put a bid in on. So
Right.
and
Very specialized industry.
Yes,
It
yes.
is, but again, historically underutilized businesses are given that designation by the state, and it could be minorities, it could be women, minorities, and the state gives them that designation in order to be able to participate
Definitely look into
as
that.
businesses.
How would that work, Ms. Moran, if they're, if they always come up higher?
Well, again, and Mr. Ramos can probably better explain this, lower doesn't always mean
Better.
better.
Mhm.
And again, you need to look at what other services in addition to that they may be able, so they can offset costs maybe.
I don't know if they did a matrix system.
Mhm,
And,
mhm.
you just need to give them an opportunity. but-
Right.
Exactly.
but That will be an additional points in the matrix system
Mhm.
that they are.
Yeah.
But
Designation.
it doesn't necessarily mean that they will be awarded, but
Right.
it gives them more points.
But so long as they're
Yes,
able
given
to
an
bid.
opportunity, yes.
And that
That's all.
we can document that we,
Mhm.
as a city, as an entity, did reach out to hubs.
Thank you. Any other questions, council? No? Okay. Next line item.
Oh, I'm sorry, real quick. In regards to the chemicals, you and I were talking out there about the grant that we basically put in for the filtration system. I don't know the exact terms or whatever you call the filtration system. Would that actually reduce in any way the amount of chemicals needed, or does that have no effect on this at all?
Not on the chemicals, but the water usage and electrical usage.
Okay.
It'll save on that. It's a efficiency fund.
Okay. I remember. Efficiency.
Yeah, that doesn't go towards the supplies and material.
No, it just goes to electrical pump
Electric.
usage.
So operating
Operating
supplies.
supplies, yes, ma'am. 2017 revised is 20,000, requested it 16,500. There's in 2017 we adopted 13, $3,500 increase.
As mentioned with the previous department, finance has broken down all of 5290 into the above 8 or 9 different functions. My biggest hitter there in operating supplies is going to be the laboratory testing supplies. They got to make sure that they meet TCEQ standard and its equipment, standards, solutions, not just for the meterings that we have in the plant, but the handhelds, the ones we carry with us out in the field. They need to meet a certain standard in order for us to do particular analysis and satisfy TCEQ. Another hitter will be postage and freight. We do submit samples out of state, so we cannot use the Lone Star delivery system, so we gotta use UPS or FedEx. The catering, being members of the TWUA, we do have meetings once a month. We're in the Coastal Bend District. We have 11 meetings in the whole year. The only time we don't have a meeting is in December. They do supply with a meal, and there's where that comes from. The meal ticket comes under that 5290 line as well.
Was it a one-day meeting?
It's just overnight. It's from 7 to 9. And that helps out with 2 hours of accredited hours toward our license.
So that also helps with overnight stays, perhaps, or
Correct. Well, it's just
are they not far enough to?
well, it's in the Coastal Bend District. Here now as we host ours in June. Tonight, a matter of fact, we're having one at the Southern Charm that's being hosted by City Electric. It's an opportunity for water and wastewater professionals to get together. And there's a lot of camaraderie going around. We have a guest speaker that does speak on water, wastewater topics. And in attendance, you get 2 hours of credit towards your license. So it saves on having to go to school, overnight stays, the per diems, the travel, the fuel that comes with that.
So you have someone, it's being held here in Alice?
No, tonight's in Corpus.
last
Alice
one
has
was.
theirs in June.
So the last one we had was the one that was at the auditorium?
In June, yes, ma'am.
Have you looked at maybe having a local business host it, to save us money on the catering and also bring potential exposure to the business that maybe
Sure, we-
could make some networking?
He actually
We could do
did,
that. Matter of fact,
he
I could
did
add
do something awesome.
That
Great.
in coordination with TEEX, the Texas Education
Yes.
Extension Agency, they actually reached out to Smiley Valverde to host meetings here in Alice.
Okay.
And they are going to happen starting in
Great.
October, running through 2019. And they're going to be hosted at the Multi-Use Center to help out with the EDA as well. Good thing about it, classes are usually like $325. They're going to offer them at $25. That's going to be a big savings for us.
I would definitely reach out to some of the local businesses and perhaps try to have them host the catering and give them an invite and the exposure, the advertising exposure. And maybe they can network and perhaps get some business out of somebody. So that's a good idea.
Y'all use Marios at the last
We'll
one?
use Marios for here for now. Whoever
Really
the
good.
host city is,
Yeah.
they're responsible.
Yeah.
If they like, we don't have to have a meal. If they like, that's your
Yeah.
choosing.
That's
It's up to them.
very good.
Okay, next.
5295, minor equipment, small tools. We budgeted in 2017 1,000, our revised is 1627. 2018 requested will be 1,000 as well.
Had to purchase a gas pump. About 3 months ago, we had our booster pump go out for a chlorinator system. We need a pump to keep the treatment going on. So, of course, we have enough water in our supply to keep the city operating and going. So we picked up a gas pump at Tractor Supply, hooked it up, and got it going. It was an emergency.
No other questions, council, on materials and supplies? No? Move on to purchase property services.
5,400, gas and electricity. Our adopted for 2017 was 400,000. We revised it to 443,000 and requested is 349,200. And we did renew that contract, which I think is where the savings is at.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did it drop by 100,000?
Yeah.
In January of 2018, the new contract will go into effect and it lowered the
The energy charge
energy
is gonna
charge.
be at a lower fixed rate.
Okay.
by like 3 or 4 cents.
It was
I think it was a total savings
4
of like,
cents.
4 cents
4 cents lower on just the energy charge.
And that's across the board?
for
It's
all.
across the board for all.
So you'll
all
notice
city
that on
limits.
all the departments that do have
Yes.
that.
it's like a 300,000 savings
Yes.
for everybody. I don't
What's it?
remember from the top of my head what it was for this individual department, but I think that's one of the highest users.
That is pretty high
Yeah.
for,
Where the pumps are, that's usually where you're gonna
pumps.
see a
The
lot
pumps.
of it, yeah. So the natatorium, the water plant.
The wastewater.
wastewater.
They're gonna be the highest.
Yeah.
I think an auditorium had a like $20-something thousand savings by themselves.
Good. That was 3 cents or 4 cents?
It was, I believe it was at the 7.5 and it's going down to 3, so it's 4 cents.
4
4
cents.
cents.
Very good.
7.
Great.
And that would be, I think it was a 5-year
I
contract.
believe that's 5 years.
Awesome.
What's the name of the company?
Well, we're a part of,
Jexa Energy.
but we're,
Texas.
well, Dex is the provider, but, I can't think of the TCAP, we're a member of
TCAP,
TCAP.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
And they help go out and find the best possible,
Right.
yes, for us.
Very good.
Kilowatt.
It's the same thing offered by the chamber? If you remember? I think so.
I don't know.
I think so.
Very good. Now that we're on natural gas, where do you use natural gas?
Actually, we were just going over this yesterday.
'Cause
We'll
there's
actually
natural gas
eliminate that.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, no, on the water plant, we are going to eliminate that.
Okay.
He said they don't use any gas for anything, so we did actually call yesterday to cancel it.
Good.
They were still sending us,
Absolutely.
Bill,
They
so-
will
So we
They'll
called.
get you.
I know. So we called yesterday and canceled it. So that would be actually an extra 700 we
Oh,
could
good.
remove
Very
for
good.
next
So
year.
we can put a.
Are we gonna do
emphasis
that?
around that?
Because there's a lot of different.
There are some that do use it. I know. I think the fire station has
Fire
gas
stations,
and
the training center.
the training center has gas. I think the place on Olmito,
Yes, that one does,
The
and actually,
The substation?
yes,
The
that one
substation
still
does.
has gas.
Here, I had talked with Ms. Webb, and, we're, planning to do away with that, substation.
yeah, I
Although
was
she-
looking at that yesterday.
She was gone, and I need to get back to her we don't utilize it the way,
Right.
it's supposed to be utilized. So,
I think the warehouse too.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to
Warehouse, you don't use
disconnect
gas
when
either?
possible.
Well,
Yeah,
we
they'll
were
charge you
looking
just
at-
Yeah.
even the monthly fees.
And it's a hefty, so I noticed that throughout the budget as I was going through it, that we do have different entities that have natural gas, and I'm just going, okay, do we really? Because I know that fee is
If
good.
we'll have to look at those, if there's no consumption and it's
No,
not
yeah.
necessary. we'll
That's
just-
what we were looking at when
Awesome.
we noticed.
Yeah, the substation was one that I looked at it since we were looking at the Metros yesterday, and there's been no consumption for a
Yeah.
year, so.
Yeah, so no,
If they're not
we-
gonna utilize it anymore, that's the only one we can save on that
Very
minimum bill
good.
that we're getting.
yeah, so that would be,
The only reason we were using that is, I think, Crime Stoppers
Yeah.
was having their meetings there, and they don't,
They don't need any,
well, they do meet.
but
I just don't know if they're using that same place or that they got
might
something
go
else.
different places.
Because there was a change of, president.
but if it's for heat, we can always do an electric.
That's what I was saying, we just need to make sure there's no furnaces, but you gotta change the whole furnace. So if it's a
Right.
furnace that's gas,
Right, right.
then it's minimal
But
consumption.
like something like that that's not used so much, we could always, I mean, how many cold days do we really have? You know, exactly. So I think that should be on the priority list to just kind of go out and search for where are we using it, where are we not, turn off where we're not.
Right.
We're also, Mr. Damos and Terry are looking into also the electricity, if there's certain meters that at one time they were being used and they're
Right.
not being used anymore, to make sure that there's no charges being made
Perfect.
whatsoever, so
The
they're
one I
working
can
on
think of
that.
off the top of my head at the airport where they have this staging, I guess where they used to do the.
They used to do
fireworks.
the Veterans Day event, I guess at one
Mhm.
time they had set up a meter there
Yeah.
and they hadn't used it in a while, so we're still getting charged.
We're getting a minimum bill
Just
for that,
turn
so
it off.
zero consumption, we can go ahead and, if it's not gonna be utilized in the future or the near future, we can go
Right.
ahead and shut that off.
It doesn't make sense to pay the monthly fee
No.
for something that's utilized once a year for an event
Right.
or whatever. We can always connect it a month in advance.
Exactly. Because that's like our minimal for water. Well, they're gonna do it
Get
to
a
us
generator.
too, so.
Yeah, so say just get generators.
Just get a generator for just
Temporary,
running
it'll
one
be
light.
cheaper. Pull out.
Mhm. Very good.
Okay,
Okay, moving on to the next.
this is the big one.
Other water purchases,
Wow, what is other water?
Purchase
Raw
of
water.
water.
Just
Raw water.
raw water, right?
The raw water that we purchase from the city of Corpus.
Corpus.
Every year, the purchase of raw water has gone up. And again, the quality of the water changes. And that also has a big impact on our chemical usage. You know, you can have X amount of gallons flowing through your system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But based on the characteristic of that water, you have to make your chemical adjustments, and that's why they work hand in hand. Raw water has gone up quite a bit, from 77 cents to now we're paying $1.02 per thousand.
Now, with our reworking the contract that we're doing now, are we looking at it? Because I know that our current contract, well, the contract that just expired, we kind of fluxed every year anyway. Is it gonna continue the same way, or what do we know? We have any-
The contract is with Jumbo's Freshwater District, not with the city of Corpus.
Oh, okay.
That's a totally
Totally
different,
totally
separate
different beast, huh?
contract.
Okay.
but we're requesting 1.7 million on that one.
Right, a couple of years back, we had budgeted 1.9. We came out a little bit over $1 million, but it was a rainy year. So that's what we hope and pray for,
Right.
is for that rain to replenish. Of course, you want it at the watershed, but you also want it here at our lake,
Correct. Yeah.
in order to help that line out.
Okay,
Sure.
yes ma'am.
I wanted to ask you, on the desalination
Mhm.
plant, where does that fall?
That's
in
what the
any
Alice
of
Water
this?
Authority.
Right, that's for the Alice Water Authority, correct.
Okay. Next line item.
The vehicle repair and maintenance service, we adopted in 2007, 49,772. We revised it to
Yeah.
8,800.
This is one where we're splitting them out.
Oh, okay.
Because it used to just be repair and maintenance service just in general, and we're trying to split it out between like vehicle, equipment, and building. So that's why you'll notice that, yes, and then if you notice on 5425, building repair,
Mm-hmm.
it jumps up right there.
Right. You have city service and then you have outside service.
Oh, this
City and
goes-
then what?
Outside service. Any service that we make out a PO for somebody from the outside to come and repair for us.
Oh,
Any type of service.
Gotcha.
And requesting the additional 30,000 for the revised, because I still have to dredge out one of my lagoons. At the lagoons there at the plant is where all your sediment that is being removed from the raw water winds up at. And it's pretty much a dewatering system. The sediment sits to the bottom of that lagoon, the water rises to the top, we replenish that water for treatment. Where after a while, that sediment piles up, stacks up, so we gotta remove it. If you don't remove it, what happens, it winds up being back into your system,
Right.
and that causes problems.
And that's showing in the building
They're
repair?
revised, correct,
Okay.
But that's in the building and maintenance service,
correct,
under the $60,000 request.
correct.
Okay.
Because that still jumped up by just under
16,000?
16,000 between the two that you broke out.
Correct.
I do have a question
Sure.
on the water quality.
Okay.
We do have citizens who complain about a brownish color
Mhm.
of the water. Can someone explain that
Sure.
to our citizens?
We only have one line that comes out of our water plant, treated water. Once it leaves the water plant, it gets distributed to two main lines, and then from there goes to laterals and service connections. The infrastructure in certain parts of town is very poor, and those are the folks that are experiencing the yellow, the brown water. Sometimes even taste and odor issues because of that. I've had the state that was down here maybe about 2 months ago, and they said everything they analyzed coming out of the plant meets or exceeds their standard. And they did mention infrastructure. Later you'll hear Joe Sines with the special projects budget and the projects that we have done in the past and ongoing. And one that they're working on right now is the one on North Reynolds, and it was because of rusty water issues.
What about in the downtown area? We've got businesses there complaining
Right.
It
about.
needs a lot of
And we really need to
infrastructure.
address that. I mean, again,
But it's
that's a-
completely infrastructure.
It's infrastructure.
It's completely infrastructure.
And that's Old Alice,
We've
so
gone
that's where you
through
see all
it,
your
yeah.
old lines.
right.
Just north of it, just south of downtown area, those are the areas that we really struggle with. I know Joe and his crew are out there with, along with engineering, they look at, whenever they're going with new development, is to loop the system, to prevent those kind of things from happening. Everything that go in, it's either gonna be plastic or PVC, to prevent that as well.
And right now, you might mention that he does a lot of flushing, you know,
Right.
Band-Aid work is what we're
It's work,
calling
it's
it.
Band-Aid work for right now. We do, by rule, have to flush out dead-end mains at least once a month, some we do more often,
Yeah.
depending on the quality of the water. But if there are areas that are with, are not at a dead-end main, that are calling, concerned about the yellow water, brown water, we do flush that area. All that water that is not being accounted for as far as billing is then in turn reported on our water loss report that I submit to the Texas Water Development Board. And that helps with funding, with grants, if they see that we are showing a lot of water loss
Exactly.
based on whatever the action might be.
But moving forward on that, I was having a conversation with Rudy, I think Mr. Chris walked in this Saturday, I think it was Saturday. We need an inventory really up through all the streets and infrastructure and have a
Absolutely.
master plan
Yep.
moving forward and see which are priorities
Yes.
and which are potential TCEQ violations. And you don't want to do the street and then have to do the infrastructure later, because then it creates
Exactly.
problems. So
That's
we,
right.
we have to have a plan moving forward and then try to include it in our CIP and see if we can somehow obtain funding either through in-house or grants or, you know, depending on, I guess, what the project is and how we can, how it'll rate a certain kind of funding.
Yeah, I did ask for that master plan with costs associated and placing a priority when we discussed it on Saturday. We come up with something like that. For future budgeting purposes, we need to know those numbers.
We'll have to get with Rick. It's a lot of, especially when you're dealing with sewer, it's a lot of in-depth analysis. You gotta look at the history, how many breaks, you know, there's been a lot of the guys going out there and doing a lot of repairs on the lines.
Right.
If you know, we've had any citations or any violations or complaining about the rust water, you know, all of that, we need to look into it.
It's a historical,
Right, and that's part of the prioritizing
right.
Right.
For funding
effect as
purposes.
far as which areas need more attention than the others, based on the number of calls that have come in and complaints.
And do we have that in some kind of data system, or are we having to manually search?
No, Joe over at the warehouse has it,
Okay.
and it's part of our CIP plan, 2-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch water lines.
There should be work orders whenever they go out there and
Right.
repair.
But are we entering them into a system where we
They should
can
be in.
Yes.
readily access them? So when we go out for grants through the Texas Water Development Board,
Yeah, it'll flag
yeah,
those that are,
it'll flag those that are, that we've prioritized and we have data on them.
correct.
Very
It's
good.
very expensive to repair sewer line.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Very expensive.
Streets and water, so.
Okay, next line item. I think we covered building repair and maintenance, right, with that?
Yes.
Equipment?
Equipment hire and rentals, 25,000 was we adopted in 2017, we revised it. It stayed at 25,000. The revised stayed at 25, but let me see, requested in 2018 was 25 also. We amended it at 28,475.
Majority of that rental is prior to turning on the pumps at Lake Corpus Christi. We do aeration at Lake Finley. When you're looking at 27 miles of 20-inch water, raw water line on the 20 and the 30, you have stagnant water. So we aerate prior to turn on those pumps just to get that fresh oxygen. And to Lake Alice, that is primarily done to prevent fish kill.
We haven't had one of those in a long time.
As long as we aerate, we're good. We've
God.
there's no power out there, so we can't actually set a power pump out there. We're trying to keep all the fuels away from our body of water. We do have a dike, a dam around the pump that we rent. We looked at also perhaps setting one there permanently,
Right, what's the
but
cost?
there's been months that, or years that we only pump once, 1 month out of the whole year. So you're gonna have a pump just sitting there not doing anything. Funny thing is, if it has City of Alice on it, there's gonna be vandalism. If it doesn't have City of Alice, it doesn't get touched.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make sense.
That's so sad.
And we've talked about perhaps when we did the renovation at the water plant, they broke out a lot of concrete to just pile the concrete there at the inlet of the 20 to 30, or put in those concrete barriers like you see on road repairs. But then the liability when it's available to the public, you know, kids might want to stand on it, play on it, and get hurt. So right now, our best option is to rent a pump.
There's no other questions, council? We'll move on to purchase property.
5,500 communications. 2017, we budgeted 19,000. The revised is 5,500. I guess that's another one where we broke it.
Yes,
No,
Jim and
I
his
think-
folks, we had an actual telephone grid there at the plant, like 30 lines or so. So with the new SCADA system that we have for telemetry, it was eliminated.
Yeah,
That's where the cost
it
savings is
eliminated
at.
some services.
Nice.
Good, yeah.
Travel expenses, we adopted 3,000, we revised it to 1,700, and requested is 3,000.
There is a revision to that yesterday with the proposed budget that we have with the Alice Water Authority. They proposed to pick up our registration and travel fees for those that are associated with the AWA. Again, this is classes that all the operators that are licensed have to attend in order to maintain their license
Okay.
or work towards the next level
On
license.
travel.
So we only included Demetrio, Smiley, Rudy,
Rudy, Barbara.
Barbara, and just because they're the main ones that go to the meetings and things like that. So from this line item, we were able to deduct $500.
From this one?
From 3,000 or?
Yes, so it went down to 2,500.
2,500?
And this just happened yesterday, so they offered.
For travel expense?
And then there'll be another one
I was
maybe
gonna
on
say,
registration.
registration,
Yeah.
with the registration
Yes.
for this one, and this budget?
Was there
I mean,
one for
this department?
registration?
Right.
For
So-
514, not for
No,
512.
not for this one.
Not for this one?
Not for this
It's
department.
on 5641 registration and
But
training.
is it gonna be on 5641 for this fund, or is it gonna be taken off?
I don't have it.
The Alice Water Authority is going to,
Not, there wasn't a training, I guess, that maybe one of them didn't have a registration fee. Which one did we?
The only one didn't have it was the,
514 has for travel and
But what about
registration.
water plant? It was just that one?
just the public drinking water.
That's what I
Or
thought, and it
maintenance
was,
and construction,
okay.
that's one that went down to 0.
so, where are we showing the AWA?
AWA has a separate budget, a separate, they're
But
totally
that's where it's
separate.
gonna be picked up?
Yes, they're offering to pay for registration and trainings for.
For their budget?
Mhm.
Okay, that's my question.
But we can see the
And just for,
500 also travel.
just for certain individuals, not the entirety.
Yeah, no, I
Right,
didn't wanna.
right.
Correct. Advertising.
Advertising, we adopted in 2017, 634. We revised it to 785, and our requested is 785.
Dimitri, is that newsletter that goes out? Or what is that?
That encompasses the announcement of the CCR in our local paper when we do our yearly chlorine burn. And also chemical bid in the local and the Corpus Christi paper.
Okay.
5610 on the following page, 117. 2017 adopted was $23. We revised it to $15, and there's nothing in 2018.
That's the inspection, we're just moving it to make it seem, yes.
Yeah. So it was cleared out and moved to the vehicle maintenance.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
5611 membership and dues. We adopted nothing, I guess, in 2017. We amended it to 725. Revised it to 731. And requested was 731.
Right, that was missed or left out last year.
Okay.
But it was for the membership dues for our plant staff that are members of the TWA. And also I'm a member of the AWWA, and those are the yearly annual membership fees that are associated with that. And being a member, if you attend a class that is offered by those agencies, there is a savings in your
Yes.
registration.
Very good.
Licenses, well, there's professional, there isn't anything yet. That goes back to what Terry was saying, how they're trying to separate the codes. 5621 licenses and certification, 2017 adopted was 222. We revised it, it stayed the same, and requested is 222.
That's to renew 2 licenses, they're $111 each.
Other professional, we adopted in 2017, 32,000, revised is 29,500, requested in 2018 is 32,000.
What is that for?
Majority of that is for your TCEQ fees to operate the plant is the biggest one. Last year that was around $18,000. The water right that we have through TCEQ as well as South Texas Water Master, that fee comes out of there as well. We do have a freight elevator at the plant. The annual fee comes out of there as well. The preparation of the CCR comes out of there. The tank inspections that we have every year, that is a TCEQ requirement, comes out of there as well.
And I guess if they're pretty much standard all the time, why did the revised come in $300 or $3,000, $2,500 cheap below? Is there a reason for that?
Do you want to read some of that, Terry?
Or is there some that are due like every 2 years? Is it stagger or is it
No,
every year?
they're annual, but every year they change.
Oh, okay.
The one from TCEQ to operate the plant, that changes. It's based on previous year's performance, how your inspection came out. The same thing with your water permit. Comes
So they're
out of there,
not
but how much
set
water
rate.
you use, they're not set. Also, we have a sludge application. I was talking earlier about the sludge that accumulates at our lagoons. We remove that, we hire somebody to remove it, but we have an application to land apply to TCEQ. So we have to pay a application fee once a year as well, because that's land applied. We don't do like wastewater that hauls theirs to the landfill.
Okay, no further questions?
Technical service.
There's that technical service. What is yours?
Technical
Demetra?
service. That's all the water analysis that get analyzed through a NELAB certified lab fall under that category. Anything that we submit to the state as far as analysis needs to go through a NELAB certified lab. We use several. We use the Owen Stevens plant for our bacteriologicals. We use Chemtex out of Corpus for our TOCs. We use Novachem that's out of Ohio for our TOCs. For our chlorides. Right now, our biggest cost is we're on the LT2 programs, a long-term second round program that is mainly focused on raw water for crypto and other bacterias. They're setting a benchmark right now, so it's a 24-month sample cycle. And based on that, it comes through the EPA. They set a benchmark to see if those parameters need to be regulated or not. And based on that, they'll put you on a bin, and based on that, they'll let you know how often you gotta sample. And also, we're fixing to come up to the UCMR for the fourth round of unregulated contaminant monitoring. And that's why the cost went up a little bit, not as much, but I added some for 2018 because that's going to be another cost we'll have to incur on that. That also comes from the EPA.
But the 43.9, that's a substantial, what happened there?
Okay. The 43.9 has to do with that LT2. They do have a set cost on the analysis. In order to run the analysis, they have to filter out the raw water. Extra filtration is where the extra cost is at. They have to filter that sample to the point to where they're able to collect enough water to run their analysis, to remove the impurities, to remove the solids. It might take one filter, it might take 10 filters, depending on how the content of your raw water. Raw water changes all the time. Sometimes it might be at 100 units, and there's times that it's at 200 units, twice as dirty. So there's where that extra cost comes at.
But is that a one-time cost? I mean,
It's going to be the 24 months of testing that started last year.
so have you incorporated that cost into your 2018 request? Because you only have 28,000.
We're going to be at the tail end of that. It didn't start in January, it started towards, I believe, the tail end of 16.
So it'll be in 2019?
No, well, he said
No,
it's a 2-year, so
17
it'll
and
end in
18.
18.
So it started in the tail end of 15.
15, yeah.
15.
So he's
So
saying
we're-
it should end in
It's
this
going to be
year.
ending,
And
and that's why you
Right, it's not gonna be
Reduce that
for the whole
cost.
12 months of 2018.
So you didn't include it in this?
And I did it on the high end. I got some invoices, look what the low invoice was, what the high invoice was, I went with the high invoice just to cover it.
And this is bidded out, or
Pardon?
do you bid this out?
No, what it is that there's only certain amount, or certain labs that can do it, that are set up for it, that are NELAB certified for it. TCEQ does put out a website. On the website tells you which labs are certified to perform that analysis, and then we'll make that contact. And I did not receive bids, but I asked for 2 quotes. That's what I asked for. And right now, it's currently being done by Accurate Lab out of Oklahoma.
And the cost is running what? You're under the 50,000?
Oh, yes, definitely.
I'll be visiting with the guys when I get a lot more
Okay.
time on the purchasing and remind them and the quotes and everything else. And
Yes, we need to probably put something in writing. I do have a sample from a city that actually puts out kind of a brochure or something in writing for their departments that specifically explains when you just get quotes verbally or written, and those that you actually have to document in writing.
Right.
And it breaks it down.
they do have one. We do have a purchasing policy.
Yeah, I've read your procurement policy, but I don't know if you actually have a form, a standardized form that explains, and I'll show that
Oh,
to
okay.
you. I think
Okay, I
it
see
would
what
really
you're saying.
benefit the departments to use that.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no other questions, next. Line item.
Registration and training, we adopted 1,200. We revised it, it stayed the same 1,200, and we're requesting 1,200. No questions on that? The next one is your capital outlay, 6,800 building and structures. We adopted 5,000. We amended it, and there's actually no capital outlay for any of 2018 items. Any repairs and maintenance, of course, would be part of the operating budget. Debt service. Budgeted on there. So right now, we're positive 75,893. Is what the change was.
Great job, Demetra.
Thank you.
Get rid of the positives. The organization. Okay, next one, water and wastewater maintenance and construction.
I do want to pass this out. I didn't, oh, go ahead.
Don't.
Move on. On this right here, on the debt service, on the lease, so this is,
On the debt service.
These are like when they purchase pieces of equipment or something.
This is the purchase.
We're going to do 508.
Well, and also the water plant and the wastewater plant, AWA, they're very big on, I don't know if you have all the stuff that they're helping, they buy a lot of, like, for the plants. They pay for a lot of those different items. I can't think of
They
names.
pay for all the improvements
To the plants.
to the plant.
And that's their main,
Right, the proposed budget for water next year is 3.3 million, 2.2 going to the pump station at Lake Corpus.
They're
And the
funding
remainder,
that.
the
Mostly it's on
1.1,
capital outlay.
that's what AWA
Right.
focuses on.
and the 1.1 is toward the plant.
When's y'all's next budget workshop?
Uh,
I think.
The last Tuesday of the month.
Yes. But we might have, did we change it?
That was up to Becky, it's gonna be either Monday or Friday.
Yes, we'll have to check, but, Yeah, they've
But it's
gotten a
scheduled for
lot of
last-
items also for the wastewater plant also, but we can discuss them later.
So when we're talking about it, I'm sorry, on this capital outlay here, and I'm sorry, I'm
No
going back
problem.
to this. When we're talking about water system improvements, we see nothing there. What does that encompass?
That would have been like maybe something just came up that they had to buy maybe, I don't even know, a small pump or something that's not a huge expense, because usually the city has to pay for the regular operations of the plants, and AWA focuses on the larger
Improvements.
scale, yeah, the improvements
Or
to the
like the
plants.
vacuum truck, maybe like a $300,000 item, but you don't wanna do a bond issuance for a vacuum truck.
Right.
So you spread it out into a 6-7 year lease. And I think y'all purchased a vacuum truck last year.
That would be on Joe's department.
So I stand corrected, it was 75,893
Increase.
increase. So why didn't we increase? Never mind. Take your gold star away, Demetra. I was corrected, I was fine.
No,
They're
the
like,
budget
"No."
went up.
We went up 75,000.
I need to practice on my rain dance.
Gosh, it didn't work, it worked on one part. So we did have an increase of 75,893.
And that's really it was mainly the chemicals. I think we were trying to be more realistic and.
It's pretty much the $75,000 for the
Right,
chemicals.
chemicals, when majority of it is based on transportation costs, where the low bid came from, their travel.
$500,000 for chemicals, guys, let's really take a look at that. That's all, I know, but.
But that's
The bid-
everything,
the
right?
bid
That's all our
process will-
water and.
They do go out for bids.
And the
it
bid
is-
process will kick in 3 months into the budget, so we'll know where we're at starting the fiscal year and be able to see, the first budget adjustment can reflect whatever the bid comes in, and so hopefully we can come in lower.
It's a lower.
Or higher.
The other thing I can think of doing is next year possibly awarding contracts for 8 months. And that way we can start doing contracts fiscal year to fiscal year and then
Yeah.
calendar year to calendar.
Calendar.
I mean, use that as a negotiating tool.
Right, like if
I
they
mean-
went longer, then they diminish, they bring their price down.
Let's start negotiating with some of these vendors.
They do
That's a lot of money.
2 bids, right? They do some of them do. You have the option to bid a 1-year bid and a 2-year bid, correct?
Yes. Correct. And you'll see some that there's a savings if you go for 2 years, and some stay the same.
Yeah,
Some even increase it.
that's what I'm
Right.
referring to then.
Because the raw cost on their end too might go up as well.
The cost of the raw material.
Okay,
I'm
thank
gonna,
you.
you gonna call them 508?
It's up to y'all. What do y'all want to do next?
It's, council, any other questions on a water plant? No? Move on to 508?
Keep the seat warm.
Yeah.
And
We
we'll keep
did
the other
make
one warm.
We did make some changes, and I'll hand them out. Joe is in charge of maintenance and construction and special projects. So he did a little bit of a shift with personnel. So I did make the changes, and I have the new sheets for Joe. If you want to just. Let me make sure I have it. Let me see if I have it. And I'll explain what happened was, last year we didn't fund 2 positions for special projects. And Joe had requested that we go ahead and fund those 2 positions. And we thought that instead of funding them, we would give him money for temps to save on benefits. And he asked that we change that and fund those positions and take away 2 positions for maintenance and construction and just have that savings do it for temps on that one. Just because on special projects, it's more of a skill.
More of a skill position,
Specialized
yeah.
skill position.
In other words, I'm promoting 2 guys from the maintenance going to the construction. I'm not hiring anybody, just promoting them.
So you're not adding positions?
Well, technically not, I'm just moving them from one department to another.
And we hadn't funded it. We had put money in special projects for them to hire temps to try and save maybe on benefits and things like that. But what we did is we funded the 2 positions in special projects. So we unfunded 2 positions in maintenance and construction. And I funded the positions in special projects, took away that temp help. I unfunded the 2 positions in maintenance and construction, and I gave them a little bit of more money for temp, since we unfunded 2 of their positions.
Gotcha.
There was a little bit of a savings,
Shifted monies.
yes, between departments.
Gotcha.
Positions.
All right.
Okay.
So this is
Do we use this?
So it looks like it dropped by about 51.5, but the,
Salary or budget?
Is that right?
there we are. Yeah, okay, got it. Dropped
Because
one
we
position
lost
on crew
it.
leader, and we dropped one position on utility specialist, correct?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Where you're gonna see the differences in the extra help.
So 5 instead of 7.
5 instead of 7, yes.
Okay, so
51.
we'll be going with this one. for
They
this.
have-
And really the only changes was on the salaries.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, 1.5. Yeah, 1.5. Okay.
So 5,100 salaries, we adopted in 2017, 257,816. We revised it to 205,912. And now we're requesting $127,505. So that's the 2 positions that Vanessa's talking about. Overtime. We adopted 29,000, we revised it to 36,330, and we're requesting 32,000 in 2018. It's a $3,000 increase. Extra help, 5111. There's no 2007 adopted on that one, Vanessa.
No, we had not adopted a budget for that at that time.
Okay, so we revised it to 60,623, and we're requesting 120,000 in 2018.
Okay, someone talk to me about.
That's gonna be
extra
for
help.
6 positions. You have or I'll let you explain it.
Extra help means temporaries. We used to have 16 positions. Regular workers, now we only have 5 workers. So we cover with extra help, which are only temporaries for the positions.
You might
Oh,
wanna
that's
tell
extra
them,
help.
yeah, tell them the positions, maybe like you have the hydrovac,
Yes, I have a temporary using that hydrovac truck, which he's a retired city employee. He's working that, he's just extra help. And we cover extra help where on-call hours, we work 24 hours a day, so we use all that extra help.
So when you say extra help, it's not someone you call under for professional services. They're actually on the payroll?
no.
They're
No,
not city.
they're
They're not,
tips.
they're what?
Contract.
You
They're contract
them
workers.
out, so
Where do we
they-
get them from?
We get them from temp services.
Out of
Maybe
Corpus?
list which temp services you use.
We use Unique and all temps.
Okay.
We use 2 different temp services. Whoever can supply us with help.
So we-
Immediately, we need help like from one day to the next.
Okay. All right, how long have we been carrying this temp help?
We've been having them ever since. At one time, I had 4 construction crews working at a $9.6 million budget, so we've been using temp help for the past 6 years.
So let me understand this. When we received a grant,
or we went out for COs. Some of the monies were to hire additional temporary help.
No, I think at the beginning we hadn't, but at that time they wanted to be doing the work quicker. So I believe they asked Joe Sines to make additional crews, and that's where he contracted and hired temp helps. Correct, Joe?
Okay, let me rephrase this then. When the city receives a grant, there's monies in that grant for labor or temporary help. Once that project is done, it's gone. These temp helps, these seasonal, they're gone. We don't keep asking for monies in a budget
Well,
for this.
that's why we hadn't
this-
adopted it, but he had asked to remember those two positions, and we had two vacancies, and it was just cheaper to have contract help than to fund a full position with insurance and,
It's like having part-time employees.
yes, it was.
That's
Correct.
what we're looking at here, guys.
But,
These
but
aren't part-time employees.
this is maintenance and construction. They're doing maintenance work. Construction projects deal with the bond, so that's what you're talking about as far as having
And that's a separate.
extra help for
department.
bond work.
And we're
That's a
able-
separate department.
That's a separate department.
And we're able to fund basically 6 specialized positions in some cases at $120,000 instead of having to employ 6 people and
Yes.
pay
With
benefits.
To pay for a utility specialist, it takes $23 an hour, including social security, retirement, and all that. To pay for a temp help is $13.41.
So you're looking at 50,000 plus benefits versus 26,000 plus no benefits.
We don't pay for the workman's comp, and if they get hurt, I just get another temporary.
And then plus you only pay for them for the 20 hours in a week that you need them, and then you're done
Correct.
with them until you need them again.
Correct.
So
If they don't work out, you can replace them.
You can replace them from one day to the next.
Joe, why don't you explain to them what you anticipate the extra employees to be used for, or what extra work you have, or what is it?
Well, Caesar just gave me a list. It's not 370 meters. It's like, it's more like almost 700 meters that need to be replaced. So I'm gonna have that extra help to replace those 700 meters that are not working.
700, yeah, he told us 478,
Yeah.
so it's more like 700.
That was just one side that he reported.
That was just the north side of town.
Oh, wow.
So that's not even including the south side of town.
So you're gonna have a big increase in revenues for the,
Meters.
once you install the meters, you're gonna have a big increase in revenues. Now, I imagine they're considered temp, work is done, you don't need them anymore. I mean, I don't think, I
You
mean,
don't pay
unless you.
benefits.
Right.
That's the
And,
big
and
one.
this department that we're going over, this isn't the one that installs the new lines. This is the department that goes and repairs the water lines and the wastewater lines.
Maintenance.
Yes, the maintenance.
Real maintenance.
Yes. There's a separate department that actually installs the new lines.
Yes.
Do you anticipate having work for them for the whole year?
Where our infrastructure is getting old and there's always work. There's never, and it never goes away. There's calls after hours. I mean, we have sewer stops everywhere. We have collapsed sewer lines. Work where you can't just get city employees. I mean, they find better jobs, so it's easier to get extra help.
What's
you
the
know.
pay rate and how many do you hire?
How many temps do I have? I have about maybe 5 temps right now. And 5 regular workers.
Could they possibly alleviate some of that overtime? The extra help?
Well, the overtime comes from after our work. When you get called out an emergency repair, like water main breaks, that's where the emergency comes. There's absolutely no way we can,
Get a temp at that time.
yes.
Okay. Just a question.
Manage the stuff that needs to be, we need to have city people on the job as well. And
Yes.
that's where you're gonna hit it regardless.
The extra help is just people that use a shovel and dig.
Yeah.
Joe, when you go overtime, like, do you come into town to do it? I mean, do you come in yourself?
Personally myself, yes, but I don't get paid overtime. I get
For
comp
salary.
time.
Because that's a big jump though, you know, that's the thing that we're looking at here, is we're doubling it for next year's budget. And
Last
I
year
guess
we
that's why
only-
we're asking, what is the,
Last year was only half a year that we used that.
okay.
We just didn't have enough personnel to cover the work. We have, right now I have shifts, I mean, on-call shifts where every 4 days somebody's on call. Every 2 weeks they work weekends, and I just don't have enough people to cover 7 days a week without the temps. There's only 5 people to do 7 days a week.
I mean, even if you don't include benefits, just adding up the revised 17 versus the requested, we dropped by 80, just under 80,000 on actual salaries. And went up by, and let me start over.
Wait, what?
So we got 205 plus the 60, right? It's 265, but when you add up the other two, it's only 247. So I can see that there is an actual savings by doing it this way. Plus,
Yeah.
there's no benefits and stuff on the 120. So you are actually,
What did you do?
you take the revised
And
budget
it's a full
205
year, not a half year.
plus the
so
extra help.
Yeah,
it's
I
right.
think you took it to, or you brought
You're
it,
ending up with-
y'all brought it
with
to me after the
at
first
285
budget
or
amendment?
265.
Okay.
But then if you add these two up.
And
which
what
are
we
the
did
same
is what,
people
we
doing the same
took
work,
out
you're only at
somebody's
240.
salaries, and that's what they used as the budget amount, what they were going to save,
Actually,
and
yeah, way
they
ahead.
used that.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because we
And
say,
some-
I mean, all the extra that comes with an employee.
And there have been times where, correct Joe, that he gets to see how the person works, so then if he does have a position that he
Right.
can fill, he already knows how they work, and he does try to promote them if he can.
Do these
Tailoring
people,
viable candidates.
Same.
It's like a trial
extra
basis.
help.
I have them working as a temp for 2 years and then promoted.
do they live in Corpus? Is the company out of Corpus or?
The company's out of Corpus, but the temps are from Alice.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Good.
Very good. I like the creativity.
Yeah.
It's good. Okay. Any other questions, council?
You-
No, maybe
Should I
not.
jump down to office supplies or do you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Unless somebody has any questions on the other line items? No? Okay, then we can move on.
5,200 office supplies. In 2017, we adopted 400. We revised it to 250, and we're requesting 250.
Okay.
Any questions? No.
No?
Wearing apparel, we adopted 4,200.
There's
We revised it to 3,600, and we're requesting 2,500. Those are decreased there of 1,700.
Also, there was the revised, like I mentioned earlier, I did include for them to purchase boots. And then next year, we took that out.
So this is wearing apparel, boots,
Mhm.
boots and
Their
uniforms.
uniforms. Mhm.
And how many sets do we have with this department?
11?
11. For 5 employees?
Sorry, excuse me for-
Oh, 5 employees get 11 apiece, but they sometimes they go to 3 pairs of uniforms in one day because they get wet, they get in the sewer and stuff like that.
Okay. What do your temps do?
They just do what temps do. They wear the same clothes. They do. they for their temps. I mean, they
They're
just-
still human.
yeah.
So we might rethink
We
that.
just
You might be able-
the company has to provide them their hard hats and their vest and stuff like that.
But their clothes is just their clothes that they wear, and if they
Yes.
get dirty, they just change. They
Yes.
are prepared as employees. And
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You might want to look at trying to, for them to be able to identify themselves at least, whether it be a vest or,
Sure, they wear a vest.
oh, okay, good.
Yes.
The fuel, 5230, adopted in 2017 was 18,000. Revised was 21,243, and they're requesting the same, 21,243.
Okay, no
Questions?
questions?
Repair and maintenance supplies, 5240. Adopted was 150,000, revised 171,000, and we're requesting 172,000.
Here again, is this older vehicles or what's the problem?
This is a combination too of the materials they buy, correct, to repair some of the lines and things like that.
Yeah, that's where all the water leaks and the sewer repairs and all the supplies comes from.
Gotcha. Okay.
Warehouse inventory. We
It was probably just at that moment they had a credit. They purchased a lot of the material and then as the departments, or as they use it, then it gets coded to the correct line item.
Okay.
This is not broken out by materials. What are we spending?
On the inventory?
No, just under 5240, repair and maintenance supplies.
Oh, repair and maintenance supplies.
That's their repair leaks.
But we don't have, you mentioned something about materials, Joe. What types of materials?
The inventory, we purchase inventory and it's charged out to 5240. So whatever we purchase inventory, it's just like a store where people just bring their inventory and we charge it out to wherever we use it for.
Okay.
And it's inventory of items like.
Items, and then they get charged out to the repairs we do, which we were talking earlier about the work
supplies
orders.
you keep on hand and then
Yes.
charge out to the
Yes.
different departments.
Yes, and when water plant needs something, that we keep some items in inventory. And we charge it out to the water plant.
If they use it, then it gets charged out to the water
That
plant.
department.
The warehouse will send us monthly reports of their inventory and how it gets charged out, and we enter it into the system.
So repair and maintenance supplies are kind of like warehouse inventory, is that?
No, there is a separate line item for inventory,
Mhm, I
but
see that.
some of the items do get charged, once he uses them, some of them do get charged to the repair and maintenance supplies. But some of it also gets charged, if you go to the next page, to the water system improvements and the wastewater system improvements. So if it ends up that they had to put a whole new, I guess, line or not a full line, but maybe like a section.
To
He knows the words.
to install a fire hydrant or somebody needs a new service, they're saying they have rusty water, so we replace their new service. And a manhole needs to be replaced, we replace a new manhole.
It'll get coded
I
into
wonder,
that
like,
capital.
I'm just wondering, like, for checks and balances, if we could create, like, warehouse inventory, and then what they use, and then that way it's a little clearer. Because right here it seems like 172,000.
That's what I was
It's what you're
trying,
expected to use,
I was
right?
trying to do a
No,
breakout
because
because
they-
you mentioned
They share
materials. There's a difference, we have inventory, the umbrella inventory, but then you have
Other people using that.
materials, and then you have other things that we also, under Gatsby, that we have to go in there.
Well, if somebody else uses it, we do charge it to them. We don't just make Joe pay for it. Is that what you mean? Like if other departments use it, or?
No.
This 172
That's
is
what-
what you're expected to be charged for using this year, correct?
Yeah, and that's just for repairs, not for capital.
But that's
on
not
the
you
next page.
stocking the inventory, that's just what you expect to use out of inventory.
You
Correct.
using for to
Oh, that's
accomplish
just
your
yours.
Yeah, that's just
your
yours.
job.
That's what I think the confusion was.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
I
yes,
thought
yes.
it was a stocking of the inventory.
No.
That's
Yeah,
what
that's
I
what
understood,
this
and then if he
No,
needed
no,
a line
no,
repair, then
yes.
he would get from him, but it was out of here.
No.
And we do, for audit, we do, at the end of the year, we do account and we record properly, all the journal entries that need to be in. The auditors will actually go, and this year they're going to do counts just to verify everything, so.
And I guess that's where that 8,000, maybe they caught something that was billed to the wrong department that got billed back
Correct.
to the right department and taken and credited on the 8,000 on the next one.
That I'm not too sure if that's something like, I'll have to look. It's just probably at that time when it was run, it was, but I'll double check.
Maybe Cody wrong.
I'm not sure. I don't want to say something because I'm not too sure what it was.
Now I'm a little confused myself.
Yeah, because again, that 172, Joe,
The thing is, if you're charging,
yeah.
When they purchase, okay, I'll walk you
Yeah,
through the
let's go
steps.
through the
Okay,
purchasing
when Joe
process.
Joe will bring us a purchase order and he'll give us a list of all the items he's going to order. And when he does that, it gets coded to this 5260. So the expense will actually hit there.
Right.
Now, when they use the materials, it it gets charged to whoever used it. It could be the water plant, Smiley's used it before, the bond sometimes will, they might have used something, different
there's
things
nothing
like that.
there.
Yeah.
But there's nothing there. That's
Because
where-
it should really just wash out.
It's
You know what
zero,
I mean?
in October the 1st, it zeroes out.
Okay.
There's an amount, how much is in the inventory? That's one amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
And on September the 31st, like she says, there's an amount which is this 172,000. That's how much we use in all repairs of water and sewer.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back to the next page, you got 6810, and that's capital, we install fire hydrants, manholes, and water meters. That's where all the water meters are gonna be purchased.
I don't like the coding there. To me, it would seem like because he has 107, because basically what it is 172 plus 200, right? I mean, if we were to put them all together. When we make, okay, so say this purchase order comes in October, or whenever he makes the purchase orders, wouldn't we create that number as the requested? Or it's not able,
Well, because it really, like, it should wash out. Like, they purchase what they need, just to get them through, I guess, a period, or I don't know exactly how you all.
I understand.
so it's not budgeting. In other words, it's not budgeted.
Well, it's budgeted in the line items that it'll expense. That's why the 172,000 is there, because usually that's about what they'll spend, and that's where it will end up getting coded to.
So,
You know what I
It'll
mean?
show up in the balance sheet.
I
but this is
got
just
that.
revenues and
Yeah.
expenses, so it's a little
Like,
confusing.
Each
So-
department will have their own, on the repair and maintenance supplies, each department is charged for whatever he buys the bulk of. You know, he
Then
buys
it's
it all,
charged
but then
out
it's
to the
charged
department.
out to each department.
Cause I go to
I
his
thought
but
that
I
was
go to
right.
his budget, if he buys something, I'm gonna take it off of his budget number.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets charged out to his budget number.
I guess y'all have just done this so long, and for those of us who we're like, wait, what?
Okay, so this was 172, the question was, is this repair and maintenance supplies for your
Yes.
department only?
Most of it,
Yes.
but some of it goes to his department.
No,
So it is kind of building it in.
Don't
Yeah.
forget.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's only for his department.
Yeah.
It's only his
earlier-
department.
Mr. Ramos can read.
So, okay, so hold on.
There's when we're charging the other
So-
departments.
Well, that's
Now,
the
is
his
the prediction that you
5260.
truly think you are going to use,
Demetri,
Yes.
you didn't tell us that.
but if by chance somebody else needs it,
Yes.
you give it to them or you sell it to them.
The reason there's no number on inventory is because inventory stays the same thing year after year. Whatever's there from one year to the next, it's still gonna be there as we're using it. So when we charge it out, yes, 172,000 goes to my budget, but there's also off of inventory, which comes off of his budget.
Right. So there is. 172 is for you.
Only for me.
I wanna
Now,
say when it
Only
says
for him.
It's
my
like when you
budget,
said, I might need to borrow some of your envelopes, and you later on go, okay, well, you bought $22 worth of envelopes for me, you're gonna bill
Let's
it
go
over there.
back
But
to
that
the-
doesn't mean that you bought envelopes for everybody.
When he says my budget, he means that if I go get a part,
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
it'll hit my
Yeah.
budget. Not that he's not supplying my budget.
No,
Is
yeah.
I need a
Because he
plan
takes
for
it out of
whatever.
his to go into yours, and then it comes out
I
of
think
yours.
we're talking about
It's
more
like
about the
way-
one-offs.
Yes.
You didn't tell
We're
us
talking about the
that,
one-offs,
Demetri.
not the norms.
I just feel like because it's budget, you would budget, okay, 200,000, and that's gonna be in your warehouse inventory. And then another line item for what he spends, but we're showing his whole warehouse inventory. And then, he's gonna have a different, which would be 172, be it. I'm lacking that warehouse inventory, because it's like a
Look at it,
store.
see if there's an easier way to show it to work.
Please.
to where-
And they're used to it, it's obvious, they're looking at us, and we're looking at them like,
Well, because we're thinking of like the books, and we're like, oh, I don't know.
I know,
Just keeping
and
books, that's what it is.
I know,
Keeping
but
books.
it's kind of fuzzy.
But
Yeah.
the 200 is actually what is included in actual improved value. That's a capital contribution to the city, where the 175 is just stuff you used in order to keep it where it's at, right?
Right.
That's the
Just
difference
the
between
things that
maintenance
make
versus
that.
capital improvements.
Yes.
Okay.
And inventory, like at the beginning of the year, we're gonna have like $100,000 of inventory.
Let's go back to the
And
menu
then
over
start
there.
using that, and as we're using it, we start buying and
Restock.
charging it out and restocking.
I guess that's what I want to see, is in a 2018 budget, to see the 200,000 in warehouse inventory, because that's what you always have in your inventory.
and
Okay.
who it's expensed to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then
Well,
it's
what
very
we could
clear
show
where
you
it goes
is,
to.
is like their charge outs every month, the charge outs, and show that,
Where it's hitting, what departments it's
What
hitting.
department?
Because
Mhm.
I'll tell you what this looks like to me.
Mhm.
I get what you guys are
Mhm,
doing.
mhm.
I get. But for me, it's like, wow. You know, Joe, your department spends 172,000, but in reality,
It's
some
not.
of these expenditures include what the other departments come in.
no, that's all,
No,
that's
that's-
only
he
Joe
does
signed.
That's
Yeah,
only the
that's
100,
all-
that's
But you
on
just said
repairs,
that you
yes.
charge out to
Well,
some
that's
of
on
the-
the
Okay, it's a
inventory
one-off.
line item on.
Well, that's why we keep saying we want to see it in the warehouse inventory.
Well,
But
Mr.
then
Ramos
I guess,
understands
well,
where,
Yeah.
but the only thing is, it wouldn't it be showing it twice, because then you're gonna show it as an inventory item, and then you're gonna show it as an expense when you expense it
for
out.
the-
For
on
me,
the
repair and
department,
maintenance supplies is whatever they need to continue to do
You see what I
their
mean?
job
Yeah.
only.
which is that,
You
172?
could put it in both if you're gonna have a
That's what
beginning
you're
of the year,
telling us.
ending of the year.
Yeah.
Yes, for those 172,000, I have work orders for all those 172,000.
For your
For
department
my
only?
department only, yes.
And then we have the improvements, the 200.
The 200 is meters, fire hydrants,
Anything that's a capital improvement, which is new, a new meter, or a new fire hydrant, or a new manhole, or a new water service to a new customer, a new water tap, a new sewer tap.
Simplifying. Okay.
The thing is too, like Melissa brought up, the other departments have already included it in their budgets. But
So you would have to remove it from all the other departments
And
to
just
put
put
it
it-
in this
Put it just
one.
in there.
See, and that's what I would think would be neater, is just, because he's the one he's their supplier,
no.
no?
but
Yes.
you want to show a true
Yes,
picture of
yes.
the departments.
Well, they can also do
So-
buy
so
their
that
own
would be-
supplies.
But not here on this 175.
No,
That
that's
is just
his.
for you.
Yes.
That's just his.
That is just, that 172, sorry, that is just for him.
Yes.
That's what I keep
But if
asking.
you
Yes.
pull it off of everybody's budget and put it into one, then we don't have a per department
Right.
true expenditure.
Well, but then they have to budget for it.
The full amount shows up in the balance sheet, but it doesn't show, this is just revenue and expenses, so it's expense to each department.
I think Joe is confused like us.
All right, garage, we're gonna hit it again.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're gonna be like, here it is. I think you understand where we're coming from. Like, to me, I say, okay, put it in his warehouse because he's the one that holds it. And then Demetrio's gonna put a new line item or whatever that says, this is how much I'm needing to
Anticipate
budget.
shopping at the
Yes.
warehouse.
Right.
Yes, that I'm gonna use 100,000, and that'll be his budget, but he's showing the actual inventory, because, I mean, right?
Yeah, well, we can figure out how to do it that way.
Kind
how
of
to
like
show the
when you have a
breakdown.
purchasing agent on staff. Purchasing agent has all the supplies in one place, and everybody sends in their POs, and then he
They have a
or
budget for
she
that.
distributes.
We don't have
And
that.
it
We'll have a
hits.
beginning and ending balance
Yes,
and everything.
exactly.
Which he's already kind of doing it, it's
Yeah,
just,
we're doing that
in
already.
this, it's not,
Right.
we don't see it.
Reflected in there.
It's
Yes.
not reflected in this
Yeah.
We'll
budget.
have two lines.
That,
Because not
that
everything-
zero each other
Not
out.
everything that I need.
It's from
he has
him,
in
correct.
his inventory.
And you could code it somehow where it's Alice warehouse inventory, and then whatever. Well, that's where y'all do your thing. After we mess it up, right? Then we're like, got it. Y'all are smart. Okay, sorry about that, Joe, but it was, it'd be easier if it's clearer. But his is 171,000.
His one.
So now going back to your 172, now that we know that it's all yours, no, I understand what you, supplies to repair leaks and
Mhm.
the such, which we have a lot of because of our infrastructure being bad.
Infrastructure, yes.
And so that's why we want, our goal as council to work on infrastructure. Okay, next.
Go to operating supplies, 5290.
Mhm.
We adopted in 2017, 13,000. We revised it to 9,467, and we're requesting 10,500.
So what are operating supplies, Joe?
We use a lot of acid to unclog sewers, and we use a lot of materials, all kinds of materials to do our operations as far as repairing water and sewer, and that's pretty much what we're using.
Any questions, council? No? Okay, next. Next line item.
5295, minor equipment, small tools. We adopted 8,000, we revised the 7,781, and we're requesting 8,500.
Minor tools.
That's where
Increase
you
would
buy
be-
it.
Minor tools right now, we use a lot of shell cutters to do water taps. A shell cutter just alone on a 6-inch tap is about $2,500, so I have to have that money in there in case one of our shell cutters, last week, one of them went out and I had to borrow one from San Diego to do a 2-inch tap. So I have to purchase one that's $400. So, I mean, and then shovels and all that go to that. Also our small pumps, give or take, sometimes they last like 2 years. We use them a lot, and our saw cutting tools, we can't shut the water, so we have to do them under water pressure, so we use quite a bit of those cutting saws.
Any other questions, council? Okay, done with materials and supplies. Purchase property services.
Gas and electricity, we adopted 7,000, we revised it to 5,900, and we're requesting 3,500. That was again due to the decrease in electricity.
Okay. And my question, of course, do y'all use?
I don't
your
have
insurance?
natural gas.
So that's a $1,500 that we could. Okay, very good. Any other questions, council?
Yeah, I'm sorry, where did that come from? That 1,500, if it's never been there before, like just.
Well, we
Where did it
separate,
come-
well, it used to be,
Separated out.
it used to be gas and electricity, so it used to be just, in one line item. So we were trying to separate it out between, it was just gonna be electricity and then natural gas. So that's why,
That was one of the other line items that, like the operating supplies, we're trying to separate that out so that we have a clear picture of what you're spending on electricity, what you're spending on natural gas, what you're spending on propane, any of those.
Okay,
But that's kind of good because we know we can take that away, you know, so that was good thinking to separate.
good.
Next line item.
I guess, water, no water purchase, vehicle repair and maintenance service, number 5420. We adopted $78,020. We revised it to $50,761. And we're requesting $41,829. It's a decrease of $36,191.
Okay, questions?
We're, our loader's old, all our vehicles are getting old, so I mean,
and y'all do maintenance on some of them also,
we
right?
we do our own maintenance on our small pumps, but all our material, all our equipment's getting old, so that's why I requested more money. I mean, we're gonna continue using it.
Well, it looks like you
You
requested
decreased it.
less money.
Mhm.
Well,
Less money?
no, remember it got divided between equipment built and
No,
building.
we gotta divide it.
Between
Yeah,
equipment and
sorry.
what?
Yeah.
So vehicle is like your trucks?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh, I got
so
you.
it looks like you're not getting a new truck.
It went between, which one's 5420 and what?
5425.
It's building repair and maintenance and
I gotcha.
equipment repair.
So it comes out to 86.
86, 82.
But still, that's less than last year's revised, that was it.
Mhm.
Well, that jetback truck took a lot of that. We used to rent a lot of vacuum trucks. And that's where that service came from. Sometimes we used to use up to $180,000 worth of vacuum trucks.
Wow.
That was about 2-3 years ago.
So the purchase
Wow.
actually,
It helped.
okay, good.
Actually, it was higher. Remember, we
What were we
thought.
using them for? No, we don't use them now.
Well, they used to use them to vacuum out the sewer line.
When the sewer gets clogged, we have to get a vacuum truck to suck it up, and now
They have
now
the
we have a
jetback
truck,
truck.
we can do that.
So
But
this
even
was-
like that, sometimes it gets overwhelmed with sewer. We still need to rent a truck.
Okay. Interesting.
We don't have a pool tank,
Yeah, but it's not a suction truck.
just the ramjet.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Next line item. Or we're done with purchase property services, council, yes? Okay, moving on to professional technical service.
Other purchase property.
Communications.
Oh, yep, other purchase property.
Communications 5,500. We had adopted 1,025. we revised it to 875, and we're requesting 875. The decrease of 150 probably related to the phones, again, that Diana mentioned. Travel expenses, we adopted 1,500, we revised it to 770, and we're requesting 1,800.
What are we doing different?
I got, some of my guys don't have licenses, so I'm trying to get everybody licensed, right? And, I don't,
You had 3 crew leaders, I think, that you needed to
yeah, 3
send.
crew leaders they have. Some of them, I promoted them to crew leaders and they have to get their license within a year.
Where do they go, Joe? Where do they go for it?
Where do they go to school?
Where do they go to school? I mean, wherever I can find a school within a year.
And how much time and training does that actually take to get them licensed?
They have to go to 2 courses to get their D license, right?
He's talking about TCQ license similar to water and wastewater. All they need is basic water and distribution, and we try to hit the local areas. Corpus Christi offers them, Sinton at times offers them, Kingsville offers them. Just to get them close, they can eliminate the overnight stay.
Correct.
And once the experience is there, they go test for a D. More education, they can then test for a C. That's part of their requirement.
And it's like a 1-day course, 2-week course, month course?
20 hours.
20 hours.
You're looking at 2.5 days.
Okay.
And this department, they not only have to get water, they have to get wastewater as well, so they have to have 2 licenses.
That's the, what'd you say, C&D?
C and D.
C&D.
Or
Joe,
D.
you're saying you're
PNC, sorry.
you're trying to get them to go. They don't want to go?
No, I have to get them to go, but it's just trying to get the money to take them to go is what I was
It's
requiring.
under equity plan, it's a requirement.
It's not that they
Yes.
don't want to go, it's scheduling and funding.
Actually, they have to have a double C. They have to have a C for water and a C for wastewater. But prior to that, they have to get their Ds. The D for water and the D for wastewater.
And,
That's your 3 employees that need this, right?
Yes. And on top of that, they have to have a CDL.
Right. Very good.
Are they new employees? No.
My employees on this department, they average about maybe 3 years at the most have been there. I promoted some from temporaries to, I lost 4 employees in the last 6 months. So it's kind of hard to keep employees, but
This department has always had kind of a high turnover just because it is the middle of the night phone calls in the winter and the summer, all just,
Joe, there's a crew that comes in with you, right, from where you...
that's another department.
Oh, that's another one.
So how do the temps fall into this category of having to have these courses?
They're just not required because they just shovel and dig. They don't.
Okay, gotcha.
They always have to work with a city employee, which
Different
are only
type.
5, and I have 6-7 days to take care of. So some of those guys fit in just to help them shovel.
Just
and,
the extra, okay, got it.
That's the
We're
extra.
not paying for any licenses
No.
or travel
No.
or anything for temps.
No, nothing for temps.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, council? Okay. Going on to professional technical service.
Official and administrative, number 5610. We adopted 100, we revised it to 90,
Where's that?
and we did not request anything.
again, it was the
Vehicle permit.
yes, we just thought it'd be better coded with the
Yeah,
vehicle.
it is. Okay,
Memberships and dues, we adopted 600, revised it to 225, and we're requesting 225. 5621, licenses and certification, adopted 1,000, revised it to 574, and we're requesting 333.
So that's 3 of those $111.
Yes.
Right.
Technical service number 5640, 20,000 was a revised,
What happened?
and we're not requesting.
that's great.
But what hit us that
Yeah,
one
what
time?
happened?
It seems like a one-off type of deal.
What do we buy or what do we do?
The only, I know of, the only technical, well, it doesn't involve anything that involves special projects. That's it for bacteriological sampling, that's it.
No.
I don't have a note either.
It might be worth
We'll make
investigating.
it-
Yeah.
we'll make it-
Would it be
Well,
your?
I usually write down notes, but on that one, I don't have anything. Joe, you don't remember what that
No,
might
I
have been?
don't remember that. I mean,
Oh,
Oh.
it's the software for the meters.
Oh, Joe bought it. Okay. When they got the new meters, the ones that Caesar was talking
The
about.
Mueller?
The Mueller?
The Mueller, they had to buy the software for these new meters, and Joe bought it.
How nice
So-
of you, Joe.
It didn't go into metering?
No, because Joe purchases all the meters.
He
You'll
buys the
see it.
equipment.
Yeah. It's gonna
Part of
be
the
on-
capital.
Mhm.
Got it.
they come through the inventory.
So that was a
Goes with
one-time-
that warehouse inventory.
Let me write that
Yes,
down.
Lovely. Okay,
So nice.
okay, very good. And
That's a joke I wasn't asked.
nothing on 5641?
No, nothing on 56. 6810, water system improvements, we adopted 75,000, revised was 75,000, and we're requesting 200,000.
And this is to buy a good chunk of all those new Mueller meters.
There's 784 meters that are not working right now, and it's 148,960 to replace those.
Okay, I'm sorry.
784 non-working meters.
Yes.
784.
784.
Are the meters that are non-working? And then how much to?
They're $190 a meter.
190. Sure.
That doesn't include the box.
How much
That
is it
doesn't
with the
include the
box?
security box that we're talking about, right?
That's $21 a box.
Talking about meters.
Yeah. The electric Mueller meters, correct?
Auto read, yes.
The auto read ones?
Yeah. The new ones that we're trying to transfer to.
On these meters, if we were to replace them all throughout the whole city, it would take a meter reader about half a day to read them all.
Excellent.
All you do is drive and it'll be
Right.
picking up the reading.
So,
You could scan it from about a half a mile away and it'll pick it up.
okay, so we are replacing or are we repairing?
Replacing.
Replacing.
We're gonna concentrate on the high consumption
Okay, that's what I was gonna say, how
meters
did you
first.
prioritize?
Yeah, we're gonna look at it and figure out the ones that are using, that have used high consumption in the past, or maybe have, on the north side, I guess is what I was told, is probably the ones that have a little bit more higher consumption, so we'll concentrate on those first.
So we're gonna focus on the higher consumption then before we focus on the ones that don't work?
The older?
No, stop meters that.
First.
Okay,
Yeah,
stop
stop
meters
meters
first,
first.
and then high
No,
consumption.
No, stop meters that probably have high consumption.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so we don't wanna start replacing all these meters that normally in the past have used very minimal consumption. We're gonna concentrate on those stop meters that historically have used quite a bit of consumption. Because that'll give us more revenue quicker.
What do we forecast? When will that be done? Because we've got the funds budgeted to purchase.
Yes, I've had a few
So-
conversations with Joe. He's gonna pull, one plan is, and we gotta figure out after that how we're gonna proceed, but he's gonna pull his construction guys for 2 whole weeks and do nothing but this.
Oh, good.
And then I think some of the temp, you're gonna utilize some
Some
of
of
the
the
temp.
temps, yeah.
Okay.
So that's really a priority for
Yeah,
us right now.
let's get them in there and
Mhm.
let's
And those temps they had stated earlier have to be certified in order to install them?
Well, they work, like I said, they have to dig around the meter box, take the meter box, and the guy that's certified is the one that puts the meter on.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yes.
So
So
do all
can
the
we
prep
do-
work?
Can we do 2 per meter? Or are we gonna see 3 people per meter?
Well, it's 2 per meter,
Yep.
because one of them digs a box out and the other one just installs it and they put it back. It could take about 10 to 15 minutes
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
with two employees.
It said half a day, he did 12. 20 minutes a meter. That's pretty
Pretty
impressive.
impressive. I'd like to see it. We're gonna check with Joe.
What time it? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, start. All right.
That's to read.
Any other questions, council? On water system improvements?
Was, is 6820, adopted 35,000. The revised was 23,286, and we're requesting 20,000
And that's wastewater system.
wastewater system.
What does that entail, Joe?
That's repairing all the wastewater lines. Sometimes we have to replace a section. Sometimes we have to replace a manhole. I mean, sewer collapse, we have to replace a section. Like a small little wastewater project.
Okay. And that's in Napiwal, I guess, from 11/9 to 20. Should be, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions, council? Next.
I guess we'll jump into the debt service. The lease purchase principal, I guess, is this the Vector?
This is the jetback truck.
That's, our annual payment on that one is $53,603 we're requesting. And the interest on there is $3,808. So that brings our grand total on the request to $931,612. And right now we're over or in the positive by $60,710.
But that also includes $150,000 worth of brand new meters in order to speed up the process.
And that should bring in
Revenue.
Oh, that's
hopefully,
gonna offset
yeah.
that.
Yeah, very good.
With overtime, plus just revenue.
The revenue, yeah, the revenue.
So 60,000. Okay.
I'm sorry, real quick, go back real quick. How many of them, he said that we currently have meters in stock?
Right now, we always carry like 50 meters in stock.
50 or
In
15?
inventory.
50 or
50.
15?
50,
Okay. And they're all the new ones?
yes.
And we're
I
gonna
mean,
start replacing.
one day we can replace like, two guys can replace 20 meters in half a day.
When are we
So
gonna
that we
start
have to
that?
stock at least 50 meters.
Because that's where we're moving, to replacing all these
Oh.
old
Yes.
meters into auto the auto.
Yes.
They're coming out of Corpus.
Joe, so when will you start that?
As soon as I get the okay.
Budget.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you, since the budget that we're looking at right now, that y'all are presenting, the proposed budget here, it's based on the 5.577 tax rate, or
Well,
The
this,
revenues.
yeah.
on the revenues of that 5.77?
But remember, the property taxes only hits the general fund. So the utility fund, if you look
It's
at that
separate.
recap, they're doing, very
We
well.
do intra-fund transfers. How is that going to affect this?
The transfer will be the same,
Because it's, I mean, the proposed budget's higher. Each department so far has presented the budget to be higher from what, everything's over. But
oh, but that was already reflected in your total,
In this one.
yes.
For
yes,
this, but this is for this utility fund, which is a,
Yes.
okay, I just want to make sure, like, because it's a healthy fund. And because it's a healthy fund doesn't mean, I want to make sure that we're not depleting it, because we're going to be doing we're going to do transfer funds because our general fund's not healthy.
When, we've always done an interfund transfer from the utility fund to the general
To the
fund, and
general.
it's just, and you'll see it in most cities, and it's administrative, it's to cover like, you know, your payroll, your,
I understand,
They go
I'm
up-
just
they
worried
go up
about
a
the
bit.
future,
And-
because each one is higher.
well, and,
it's
yeah.
healthy. But hopefully you're trying to say that we're gonna offset the increases that we're proposing on the budget, because with the new meters, with the adjustments we're gonna try to make in utility collections, we could offset those higher budgeted items.
And actually, even with that higher transfer, if you look at the recap
Okay.
on page 105, we still showed for the utility fund an excess of 411,567.
Say,
I'm
not
sorry,
all of them are over.
Don't worry.
I know,
Because
and,
to me, I mean, they've always had a healthier budget.
well, no,
than-
actually,
No.
a few years back,
Well, before
the
you
general
changed it,
fund
yeah.
used to actually have to transfer money to the
But it was
utility
before
fund.
y'all switched or did the refunding and all that. and
Well,
increased-
actually, yes,
And
and,
increased the rate.
yes, we increased the rates, I believe, in
And that's what
2015.
Yes, all that.
It had been several years since they had increased the rates.
so
Right.
now we're doing what a standard practice for a city is. And in utilizing the utility funds to help fund the general fund, where in the past, not only were we had very low property taxes, but we were also using sales tax money to offset water billing and waste management. Yeah, so,
It's reversed.
so yeah, it was,
Process has been-
the process has been reversed to the norm.
Yes.
Yeah, to the
So
norm.
my thing is,
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure we stay on track, because we're doing well in these, but
Not
all
to-
these that are presented are over and over. I just wanna make sure that, you know, but if we're working towards improving, that's gonna help us as a whole.
When we can afford to improve
That's
things
the
on
only
this
thing
nature.
that we can improve right now because we can't improve anywhere else. So
That's-
hopefully with the revenues from these meters,
That is our quickest way to get revenue
Right.
right now.
To generate
where we can
revenues.
start doing something, because everything else is not
That's
doable.
just so everyone
Yeah.
can kind of see what we're.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. I got you, Miss Cynthia.
thank you, Ms. Cynthia.
Okay,
So we spent the whole day talking about utility.
And we're not done.
And
We're not
we're not done, I'm just
We're
saying.
special
But, and we
projects.
talked about a bunch of pluses, but we're actually still seeing that our utility fund is doing very well. So the fact that some of these things did cost us more money are not costing our taxpayers anything for the most part.
This is the fruit of them paying.
Exactly.
They had a rate increase back then,
Right.
but they're seeing now.
and this is what they're seeing
This
now,
is the
that we
benefit.
can progress
The
positively.
only backlash that y'all might receive is when people start getting their true bill.
Yeah.
True
Right.
water bill.
Which might be an increase.
Yes.
Yes.
With an
But it-
accurate
but it's-
reading.
It's an accurate reading, that's a better way of putting it, it's not an
Yes.
increase, but an accurate
Right.
reading.
So at that time, are we gonna be prepared to send out all these meter people to go and check, you know, cause
Well, it'll have
I think
the-
we're already seeing that as the
And
problem.
it'll have the smart metering,
Yeah.
which
It will be
it's a lot-
faster,
A lot
right.
faster and a lot more accurate, and we'll be able to show them.
Yeah.
It could be some legitimate reason that there's
Yeah.
a water leak, toilet leak, sometimes that
Mhm.
water stays open and people don't realize how that uses up a lot of water, so.
I guess that would be something like, for staff to look at and be ready for, is for that backlash of something positive. But we are gonna get that where it's like, cause I think that's what we're already seeing, is are these people that had those meters, and that's why, you know I saw it on one of mine, I was like,
Yeah, I saw it 2 years ago.
what happened?
Haven't seen it on mine.
But, so, yeah, so we probably need to have, I would think, because in the years past, we don't have a system in place, we just kind of take it as it comes. But I think since we know we can forecast that this is gonna happen, that we have some kind of system in place. Mr. Donalds, that, you know, your girls will know when they get that call, and then they'll know when it's his call, and, you know, because it's gonna happen.
Yes. And we'll have to keep up a way of having a system, like you said, and knowing which are the customers that we
Right.
already replaced the meter.
And to answer our customers quickly, because I think when we ignore their frustration, that's when the girls at the windows get that backlash. And we're, you know, I mean, bottom line, we're here for our citizens, so we need to, in a timely manner, have a plan already set in place. Okay, this is when we'll take care of that.
Is there notice given to the resident when they change the meter?
Good point.
When it happens? Because when it happened to me a few years back, there was nothing. You know, I just noticed from one day to the next that there was, and my meter had slowed, my meter hadn't stopped. My meter had slowed, and it wasn't a huge difference because my home consumption is very little compared to my sprinkler. I wish that one would have slowed, but it didn't. But I did notice the home consumption changed, but there was no notice. They're like, "Oh yeah, we changed your meters out," and I'm like, "Oh, well, thanks. Thanks for letting me know."
There should be a
Unless-
note, I'm glad you brought that up because I had remembered it, but I didn't get to write it down. But there should be a note that's placed on the door. Do y'all place a note on the door?
We have door hangers.
Yeah, door
Pretty good.
hangers.
We probably need to use them.
Order something.
Well, mine was
Yeah.
several years ago, so who knows?
There should be a door
Might have been
hanger.
out of stock.
Because the customer needs to know too when they come and the water pressure is you know how it what do you call it? There's a word for it when
Oh, when it's the air in the
the
line.
air starts airing
Hammers,
out.
Oh, yeah,
hammers,
yeah.
and you dewater the pressure. You loosen up the pressure, and you air up the line, pressure up the line.
Pressure in the line, yeah.
Yeah, so they'll know that once they see that at their home why it happened.
I wouldn't have known. So I would have appreciated like a little note or something, because I get that quite a bit, and I don't know why, but you know, you turn it on and, you know, so it's
Okay.
just food for thought so that we can work
We're trying
proactively.
And it might cut some of the
Not-
phone calls out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they get their bill.
Do we still provide the litmus paper for our customers to test whether or not they have a leak in their toilets?
I don't know.
Utility billing had some packets down there and they were some pretty old. They've been there since I started 3 years ago, and they hand them out as the
Right,
customers
right.
need them, yeah.
Whenever there's a complaint
Yeah.
that there might have been.
That was all discussed some years back under the water conservation,
uh,
but that was about as far as it got.
Really?
Yeah, we need to actually develop a line item for that.
Yeah, we do. Because that's, I mean, that's necessary under our conservation, water conservation plan, didn't we? Don't we have to submit one?
Our next one is due 2019.
But that's great, we're moving in the right direction.
Okay, one more.
One area.
We got two more.
Two more.
Yes,
With approval,
special
can we jump to special projects
Special
and
projects.
do Smiley afterwards?
Smiley's been ready. He's been talking from back there. It's 516, page 120.
Let me pass these out. These are the other changes that I made on the salaries.
25.
Oh, wait.
I don't, Mayor,
No.
I don't know if you wanna dismiss the others, or I don't think we're gonna get to fire or PD today. Nothing.
Think we're,
It's already
I
three.
think, is Diana already, well, it's already through too. So we wanted to, we just start.
we'll just have to reschedule it.
I know there was scheduling issues.
Everybody should have
Yeah,
it.
Tomorrow?
Sorry.
Everybody have it?
For Ms. Pat.
One more. Thank you.
So this is an update for
Special projects where
Oh,
I
because of the,
Yes,
the
I'm
switch.
sorry.
Yes.
So now we'll have an increase on this right here.
Right?
Here. You got one? Yeah. Which one does he want to excuse them?
Yes. Do you gentlemen wanna get excused, PD?
Not you, Smiley.
Calm down.
But
We're not gonna
PD,
get to you guys
we're not
today.
gonna get to you guys.
Louise,
Sorry.
No, he's like, no, sorry that y'all had to sit through everything, but little knowledge never hurt anybody.
And I guess Diana will contact you
Thank
if
you.
there was scheduling conflicts for tomorrow.
I'll let y'all know. I'll let you know.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Not you, Smiley.
Smiley.
We're
Smiley, come
gonna
back.
lasso you. Okay, so special projects crew, 516.
5100 is salaries. We adopted 100, is everybody looking at the?
Yeah, can we say why, the difference here is that position, correct?
The two people.
Two
The two
positions. They came from the maintenance.
So this is where we
department.
saw them. We saw it
Yes.
deduct in the last one, and this one we're gonna see it increase.
We adopted 193,107. We revised it to 189,394. And the requested is 249,891. So that's the two positions that we mentioned. Overtime, the adopted was 4,000, revised is 4,887, and we're requesting 4,000. Which with the new people, we should probably see a drop in overtime, is that correct? Is that a correct statement, or?
Yes, they don't make that much. They work from 7 to 3:30 most of the time. Unless they break something out of the ordinary.
Okay.
I mean, it's not much.
No, even $4,000 in overtime is
It's
not
not.
much. It's not much of anything at all in the grand scheme of things. So, especially when you say you have 7 employees, yeah.
Right.
Well, hopefully, because we're in special projects, so there shouldn't be a lot. Okay.
I don't know if there's any questions on any of the other individual line items, or should I just jump to office supplies?
Go ahead.
200, office supplies. We adopted 100, we revised it to 50, and the requested is 100. Kind of an insignificant amount, but 5220, wearing apparel, we adopted 3,000, we revised it to 3,500, and we're requesting 2,500.
Okay, this one's mine. What is that?
That one's also, the revised, we were including, boots for the, the guys there, and then next year we weren't going to purchase any safety boots for them. And usually they would get, what happens is they would get a voucher for $100, so they would go and purchase the boots. The city would pay $100. Now, if they wanted to get more expensive boots, anything over $100, they would be required to pay.
And the vouchers were in the form of
It's just a paper voucher, and
certain places?
they take it to, it's mostly local vendors.
Okay.
And what they do is they give it to the company, and the company will send the city an invoice. And we have to have a copy of the voucher to show that they went there, and they fill it out and they sign it. So just to verify that, you know.
So when we see like the work boot, that's one of them.
Mhm.
Vanessa, but not every department has the work boots, right? They took away some of the,
Well, we had completely taken it out, and that's what we're trying to give it back to them right
Okay,
now.
good.
And we weren't going to do it next year.
Okay.
you
'Cause
weren't?
We didn't put it in the budget.
Okay.
We didn't put it in the proposed budget.
And then uniforms here. Joe, how many?
It's just, the uniforms are just the regular employees that wear uniforms.
And so we're, how many now? 7?
We have 3 right now, so it's gonna be, let's see, boy, including myself, right, so we're, yeah, about 6,
And then 11 again? 11 sets?
11 sets.
Gosh.
I can do away with my uniforms if you, I don't really need uniforms, I can just use
I mean,
regular.
and it's, you know, in the scheme of things, when you look at it, and it's not so much, it's the sets that sometimes can reduce cost, you know, and I've seen it, you know, happen in other businesses where they have a big amount of sets when times are good, you know, so that employees have 2 weeks worth of, but when times are bad, they pull back on the sets. And not that we're taking them away completely, but just the amount of,
What's the turnover?
It's a week.
I don't
A week?
know.
It's
I've
every
never
week.
done uniforms.
It's every week, so they'll bring in their
Fine.
dirty set that needs to be laundered, like on a Wednesday, say for example, and they'll get their new set that day. They'll wear it for the next week, and then the next Wednesday, they'll.
So you almost-
turn So you can't,
And
it's
4,
every week.
they'd have to
is
launder
the-
them at home
Yeah,
themselves.
so
Or
on
7,
that
they'd have to launder
rotation,
even 7.
that would be the minimum for
Okay, so all,
They're
like
laundry.
Joe's, that's from Bright Star.
that. Yes,
That's the contract, Red Star.
to Red Star.
You're just not,
Red Star.
it's just one of those, like, you know, when Oilfield went down, we cut everywhere, and uniforms were a huge expense. And
We can look at the cost savings
Mhm.
and see.
okay, Mr. Ramos, that's what I was gonna say. I'd like to have an itemized statement of all from Bright Star. Oh, you know, a year, what's the,
You mean what we spent for the year? And we can
I
look
bet
at,
it'll shock you.
Mhm.
I bet it'll shock you.
I'd
And I
like
mean,
to-
at times, you know, times are tough, you know.
I mean, not
to
because of
say-
you guys, no,
Oh, no.
I know that Bright Star is, I'd like to have that whenever y'all have time. Vanessa?
I'll write it down.
Mm-hmm.
and then, I guess it's gotta make sense because of what Terry's saying. I'm now thinking about either they launder, so if we go from 14, because it gives them a whole week.
Yeah, it gives them a week worth of wear. If you go below that, you don't have a week worth of
Okay,
wear
is that
before
the
they
only
come
thing
back
you
to you.
Have like an
Is that the
extra
only thing you
set,
get from
just
Bright
in
Star?
case.
You have to
Just
change.
Mats.
uniforms?
The
No, we
mats.
don't have mats with them anymore.
No more? Okay, no more
They
mats.
cut the mats.
So it's
Just
just,
something
a-
to look at,
Right.
you know, just, because sometimes you just have to wash your own clothes.
Joe, do y'all have?
And
a-
Joe, didn't y'all do like the bright yellow shirts? Y'all did something like
Yeah,
that too, right?
like Caesar was saying earlier, we can get some of those yellow shirts for about $12 a shirt. And they can buy their own, we can buy them for them and they can wash their own.
And sometimes your employees will buy their own, you know,
Because
to
we-
have that extra set.
Because we have to buy them vests regardless, if we can save, the vest costs like $28.
Yeah.
And the shirt costs $13.
And it's better for them, it's cooler, and they can wash it.
so the uniforms are just a shirt, right?
And
Shirt and pants.
And
Oh, the
pants.
pants
Yeah.
too.
But you got some that just have the shirt, not the pant.
Okay. So they're what, khaki pants or what?
Blue jeans.
Denim.
Jeans?
Some,
Usually like
Yeah,
Are
that.
they FR or are they just standard
No.
rough wear jeans?
That don't need FR.
No, I didn't think so. but-
Standard.
Yes, I'd like to have a statement of
we'll get you.
of the,
spend.
from Bright Star.
Little cuts, and then when we get rolling again, then,
And again, guys, it's not, it's just,
because it's a treat, really, you know. For some, we understand like some of the departments need that, but.
Oh, and we also wanted to mention, we do pay the cost up front to Bright Star, but the employee does pay half of the
Right.
launder. So with each paycheck, we keep their money and we kind of put it back.
What about unreturned items? Do we collect any of that?
Yes, we do collect that from the employee. They have to pay that. Like if an employee does leave and they didn't turn in their uniforms,
check.
the final check, it gets deducted.
Okay.
so they pay half of the uniform.
Of
The
of
laundry.
The launder,
of
the laundry.
piece.
Mhm.
Yeah. But usually, like Bright Star, they have that contract where they supply the shirt at a cost, right? Because you contract with them to launder for so many, so, but there's still a cost to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just thinking while we're talking about this, we're probably under contract.
That's what I was gonna ask too, is
So
we're probably under contract, I mean, we
We'll have
can
to read the contract. I don't
review the
think we can
contract.
change it
Oh my God.
until the contract is,
Well, but maybe the contract's almost up.
maybe it's almost up, so I would need to look at that.
Maybe
deadline.
positive.
Some of those guys that hit you real hard. Try to cancel one, it was gonna cost us $900,000 for uniform contract.
Mhm.
So they get you.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Something to look at.
5230 is fuel. We adopted 19,000, revised is 17,500, and we're requesting 17,500. Any questions on that?
Any questions, council? No?
5240, repair and maintenance supplies. We adopted 9,000, we revised it to 13,500, and we're requesting 12,000.
The math on that one doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, the 4,000.
Where's that formula?
That's right.
But aside from that, there's a $3,000
An
increase.
increase, yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
Joe,
Yeah.
Well, supplies, the repair supplies, sometimes I have to purchase stuff with my credit card out of the ordinary. And when we have an occurrence where after hours, I mean, I have to purchase different supplies where we don't have at the warehouse.
I see it's an increase from the budgeted last year, but it's also a decrease from what we actually ended up using, so.
Okay. Operating supplies, number 5290, we adopted 400, revised is 2,246, and we're requesting 1,600. There, do you know, Vanessa?
I don't know on that one. I don't have, hold on.
Seems a little bit more realistic, that number, because it seems like the budgeted number, if I remember correctly, for 16 was a very low number also that was budgeted, but it still came in at almost 2,000. So it seems like we're actually hitting a realistic
Number, yes.
request as opposed to a fictitious lowball request.
I just did the math.
We just wrote non-inventory parts for a lot of P-card, different things that they,
Okay. Minor equipment, small tools, we adopted 1,000, we revised it to 931, and we're requesting another 1,000.
here we just put it was to replace some aging hand tools that.
Aging hand tools, yes.
Okay, any questions, council? On to the next.
Vehicle repair and maintenance service, we adopted, we budgeted in 2017, 13,020. We revised it to 8,347, and now we're requesting 12,000.
This one, they do have a loader that's 10 years old, and it was just for possible equipment repairs.
Joe, again, this vehicle repair, do you take it out there on Commerce Road, to the garage?
Yes, ma'am.
You never take it to the private?
Well, we have to take it to the maintenance, and they decide if it needs to be taken elsewhere or not.
I know because there's two garages on 281 that does the work for the city. instead of just,
We still have to take it to the city garage and they determine where they take it.
If it was able to be done or not.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump back to 2016. I know that's been a while. But there's a huge difference between 16 and 17.
Oh, y'all might have had an accident. There might have been an accident. Wasn't that the? I need Joe's memory. Joe actually has a very good memory.
Then versus.
And just,
Wasn't it when the?
11,000 that was supposed to be charged to the insurance?
No, well, it'll hit the expense
We're
line
not gonna
will
get to
hit,
y'all, Patrick.
but
I'm sorry.
is
Thank you.
that when
though.
one of the loaders had turned over or something, or no? That wasn't there.
I know the loader is pretty old and we've spent a lot of money repairing it.
so that was probably a big repair or something a year.
Every time when they had to take half of it apart and it was a big major repair.
Okay. No, I was just wondering why there was such a huge difference there, $27,000 difference from one year to the next.
Did you all buy a truck in 2016? A small truck?
New engine.
Terry will look it
Yes.
up real quick.
Yeah, that's under repair and maintenance, so probably.
No.
5420?
An engine.
In
It's definitely a
2016.
major repair, like an engine or transmission or
Yeah, that's what it seems like, something big.
That'll be
Or
really big.
Maybe something like she said where it rolled over and the whole thing.
I think they had an accident.
There was a $10,000 repair.
Alone, there was one $10,000 repair,
Yeah.
Oh.
and then just regular.
It doesn't
probably
take many
service.
of those
No.
to get up there, okay?
Mhm.
Because we only
It's
used
close
up
to your
8.
11,000, he said. I told you.
So you're only allowed one repair, it seems like.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, council? No? Next line item?
Should we jump to communications? Or-
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Mhm.
5,500, we adopted $1,200, we revised it to 1125, and we're requesting 1125. It's a decrease of 75, and it might be related to the phones again.
This is just phones,
I believe that's the cell phones, right?
GPS.
Oh, and the GPS. They
On
have
your
a GPS.
vehicles?
Mhm.
Yes, since they make overtime, I monitor their overtime after hours
No,
with
isn't that
GPS.
maintenance and construction? Or no?
Oh no, that's maintenance.
It's just
construction, that's right,
Verizon.
yeah.
This is just for
It's maintenance and construction that they actually have a GPS
Yes, it's on
system
maintenance
on.
construction.
Sorry.
It's a special project.
It's just
Yeah,
their
I
cell
get
phone.
confused as I'm
I
doing
know.
both hats, I get confused.
Switch them.
switch them real fast.
Travel expenses,
So that was one phone? How many phones?
it looks like.
Because that's the other little one that we need to look at, phones.
We have, on-call people have used cell phones after hours.
I get it, but how many need them?
How many, do you know, does Joe Barrera have
So
one?
about it also has one.
So it's you and Joe Barrera?
Yes.
That have a cell phone?
Yes.
So there's 2 cell phones per month.
It's about $93.
About $93 a month.
Friends and family, $9.99.
And Jim
Cricket.
actually is looking to change all that.
Okay.
5540 travel expenses, we adopted 500, we revised it to 41, and we're requesting 575. No questions?
Travel expenses. Travel expenses, any questions, council?
Who's traveling?
Who's traveling? Joe.
Myself and,
He put himself and Joe
There you go.
Barrera, somebody needs to get a C license, is it Joe Barrera?
yeah, Joe Barrera got his D license, he's gonna try to get his D on wastewater and his C on water.
And where does he go?
Wherever he can find it.
The others don't need it since they're installing new water lines. Not like maintenance construction that they're actually working on an existing system. They need the license, not his staff, for special projects.
So the 575 is
For their training.
Barrera?
For Joe and Joe.
For Joe Sines and Joe Barrera.
Okay. Any questions, council?
official administrative services, number 5610. We adopted $55, and actually there's no request on that one either.
Okay.
So, on memberships and dues, number 5611, we adopted 130, we revised to 150, and the request is 150.
This was for Joe Sines and Joe Barrera for your TWA.
Yes.
Licenses and certification, 5621, we adopted 675, and we're requesting 333. Looks like that's three of them also, number 111. And let me see, we'll go down to registration and training, 5641, we adopted 1,000, revised to 620, and we're requesting 1,000.
Any questions, council, on professional technical service? No? Okay, moving on. Capital outlay.
Doesn't look like there's any,
Okay.
so that brings our total and requested to 398,114 for an increase or positive of $77,022.
And that does reflect the addition of the 2 new employees, which eats up about 60,000 of that increase alone.
Which I'm thinking next year, the revised, it's going to offset.
All right. So it looks like that's utilities.
The special project.
Smiley, we didn't.
Smiley's
Did
out.
y'all want to bring it
Where's
up?
Smiley?
Did y'all want to discuss the Fund
Fund
33, which is the bond that they're using to replace some water lines and wastewater lines?
That's already in place, right, and has been in place, and maybe you wanna get us up to date as to what's
You want
next?
to do that?
I think we have like $600,000 left. By the end of next year, we probably deplete all that money.
$600,000, and that's for maintenance though, right?
No,
Or new construction.
New construction, okay.
688,000.
688.
But that includes the material that is needed to do the North Reynolds project and the North Aransas project.
So they've already purchased that stuff.
We just need the time, right?
The North Aransas from the C of O, and then we picked up under the other line, North Reynolds.
So we have the 688, plus we already have the material.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. It took me a second to say, okay, do we have the 688 and we've,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, that's our balance.
good.
So that was the 2014 bond series. It was $2 million originally. So it looks like by the end of this coming year, we've exhausted that one.
And just to recap, that the North Aransas is the last project that was called out by name on that C of O.
Right, okay. Very good. Council, any questions? No? All right.
You did good.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much for your service to the city.
Oh, wait.
Smiley's ready.
Smiley.
Smiley is very ready.
Smiley's always very prepared.
We're ready. He's like, bring it. What page is this, Vanessa? Do you know?
This is going to start on page 122.
122, go backwards.
And this is another department that AWA does help with any items, any big items that they may need. Do you want to mention some of the items for next year's budget that AWA is?
Okay, for next year, we're looking at, well, to complete this year, they're gonna be doing our Northeast Wastewater Treatment Plant wet well rehabilitation and chlorine contact coating for a total cost of $99,000. Also, there's, okay, and then the next, we have monies in there. Hopefully for next year, we'll be doing our 3 clarifiers at the south side rehab for a total of about less than 170,000. And we're also looking at getting some
This is just
grid
some
valves.
items that AWA is going to
Generous enough.
provide.
That they're working with us.
Yes.
Yes.
I think in total it was gonna be close to 400,000
Yes.
that they were going to buy for the plants.
Wow,
Which otherwise would have to been funded by us.
right.
So that helps us out quite a bit.
Very good.
Just slide it into our accounts. We need it. That's good. That's great that they're willing
So
to.
this is 514, correct?
Yes.
Okay. On page 122. We'll start with salaries, 5,100. We adopted 212,722. We revised it to 195,844, and the requested amount is 188,323. So it was a decrease on that one.
Is it a decrease in staff or what is it? Is it just?
It's
Well,
that one
since the
position.
maintenance went to the water plant,
Right.
that position no longer.
Be supported by the,
Yeah, sure.
by the water.
Mhm.
Okay.
I gotta share in what's mine.
I pay the overtime.
The overtime is the next line item actually, so the 2017 adopted was 7,500, revised was 6,488, and we're requesting 6,000. So a decrease of 1,500. No questions,
So far decreases. Any questions, Council? Okay.
go to office supplies.
Yes, sir.
Office supplies, we adopted 200, revised it to 192, and we're requesting 200 again.
Okay.
Wearing apparel, number 5220, we adopted 1,600, revised was 1,620, and we're requesting 1,200. So I guess you guys cut some items there.
Well, we lost an employee, but then we added the boots. So then next year it goes down because we'll be less, one employee.
Well, actually, with the maintenance person, we're actually down 2, but
2, okay.
Is
Is that pretreatment inspector? What's the
Well-
other one?
yes. We have an operator that took on those duties, so he's doing the duties of 2 for 1.
Why didn't we add boots? Just a question.
It was something that we would usually provide to them for safety, and we didn't fund it, but then we thought we would and not give them the boots, next year.
It's like every other year type of deal.
It wasn't every year thing, but we were gonna try it, do maybe like every other year.
So it's not gonna happen.
No, it is this year.
In the we put it in the revised.
It's just my question, like, why during a time of low do we?
And the revised or the requested?
The revised.
Yeah.
But it's in the requested too.
No, it's
No?
not in the
No.
requested.
So it's not in the 1,200?
No,
Oh, I thought you said boots.
no, it's in, well, it's in the
It's
revised.
in the 1620. That's why you see the increase in the revised.
Mm-hmm. So we took it out for the 2018.
Right.
Yes.
Since we're
All
buying
across the
this.
board?
Well, except for, like fire, I believe it was part of their contract.
Yeah.
So I think theirs is still in their budget.
Okay.
But it's not, that means that everybody's gonna get their boots back?
For revised. If y'all, if
For-
it's approved.
For this year's budget, not next year's budget.
2017.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is that full cost or is that a
No,
voucher?
it's just $100 for each employee. Now, if they don't
Make
spend the
up the
$100, we have had some employees that they don't spend the full $100. They may spend like 81 or 91, and we'll just pay that amount.
But that's not in the requested. That would come back up at another time when we could. My concern is just balancing this thing,
I know,
not being rude or ugly, but you know.
I know.
We cut down on our shoe fund when we don't have
I
funds.
know.
Okay.
Gasoline, number 5230, we adopted 8,000, revised it to 8,464, and we're requesting 8,000.
Okay.
Repairs and maintenance, we adopted 23,000, the revised is 26,973, and we're requesting another 23,000. No question.
Repair and maintenance supplies, Smiley.
Yes, ma'am. That includes, pretty much every year we need to replace our windsocks, and that it's done under the risk management program. Their total price for 2 of them will come out to about $150. What happens is, this in case of a chlorine release or a sulfur dioxide, you can see which way the wind's blowing and go the opposite way. Also, I have in there for 6-inch suction hoses, actually 2 for $800 each, and the total price is $1,600. Vent blower motor for our chlorine room for $4,000. Material to cover the old bar screen at the Southside Sewer Plant for $3,000. It's a hazard and somebody could fall in it. And we just did the repair gate, so that's already been spent. And also the 12-inch butterfly check valve that we needed, that's already been done.
Okay. Okay. Council, any questions? No. Okay, moving on.
Okay, I just lost my place.
Chemicals.
5250 chemicals.
Oh, okay, there we go. 5250 chemicals, we adopted 50,000, revised is 44,369, and we're requesting 45,000.
Council?
Again, we'll take into consideration the previous comments for chemicals.
Okay.
Operating supplies, we adopted 10,000. The revised was 8,594, and we're requesting 8,550.
Operating supplies are,
Our operating supplies consist of, for 5 employees to attend our monthly meetings. We're looking at for the revised, right? At $75 times 4, that's $300. Cleaning supplies for mopping, cleaning restrooms, cleaning windows, $100. Toilet paper, paper towels, and weed killer for drying beds, $300.
so take me back to the 5 employees. We pay them to go to monthly meetings?
Well, that's gonna be changed for next year, but for this year, it's still being taken care of under 5290.
That's that meeting where they go to get those CE.
Yeah,
But that's your meals, it's not your membership, and $75
Right.
is your membership.
Oh.
So it needs
Yeah,
to come
but
out of
no, no.
operating
So
supplies,
why are
maybe?
we in operating supplies?
It's gonna be categorized as
Maybe
under
the
catering
total.
for 2018.
The total was 75.
Right now, the way they
It's
do it, it
$15.
just falls under operating
average.
supplies
Yes.
as that big bundle, so
But we're gonna
Again.
change that.
we're gonna, extract that and it'll be its own line item for any of the meals we've done.
That all rolls up to everything above it.
Yes.
Okay. Council, any questions? It's almost $10,000.
Gas and electricity. We adopted 250,000, the revised is 290,000, and we're requesting 224,000. There's a decrease there.
That also goes back to the new
Right.
kilowatt rates.
5420 vehicle repair and maintenance service.
Where is it? I'm sorry, let me clarify. What's the address on this particular fund? Because we have this electric and then the other electric, which is huge.
Well, they have two plants. They have a northeast plant and a south side plant. I don't know
Okay,
the
the north
addresses.
plant is 3433 East Highway 44,
Okay.
and then the south side facility is 286 County Road 382.
South side.
Yes,
Off
out there by
665.
Valverde Road,
Off of 665?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other one is the one on 44.
right on the other side of Walmart.
So this is electric for those
Both.
two?
Yes,
And then
and,
the
and
other
also
one
you're
is-
including our 3 lift stations.
Okay.
You want to give them the addresses
Yes.
of the 3 lift stations?
One of the lift stations is on 6th Street, right behind where what used to be Champion Pharmacy, right next to Bryson's.
Okay.
And the other one is at the Woman's World lift station, which is right there where Time Warner Cable is. And then the other one is at the airport lift station right in front of Night Oil Tools.
Okay. And
I had
those,
to look in the map.
And those are what, Marty?
There are lift stations. What happens, like the industrial lift station, it'll pick up everything that comes in, like from when Harkins, Flournoy, and all those companies were out there. All that water goes in there, and then it's pumped out to the trunk line, and then it goes to the plant. So, like the one here at Bryson's, it'll pick up everything from the north side of Highway 44, and it all goes centralized to 6th Street. And then from 6th Street, it'll shoot it and send it down Anderson Park, and it'll come in the backside of the plant.
I know, that's why I'm like, you do that.
Yes, and the reason that you have the lift stations is because it has to pick it up, and since our lines are gravity fed.
Gravity.
Yes, you have to pick them up, shoot them, and then it just follows the piping all the way to the plant.
Yeah, sometimes if you don't have the proper depth, like if it's not deep enough, you gotta put a lift station to help.
To get it uphill, to go back down, to
Yes.
go back downhill.
Yes, that's a good word.
okay.
See.
Any other questions, council? No? Next, 5420.
Vehicle repair and maintenance service, we adopted 68,706. The revised is 19,691, and we're requesting 68,706.
Any reason we didn't lower that at all?
No.
We didn't use anything? Is
And the
it?
increases?
Is it the
Well,
bad
actually,
equipment?
we're just coming up to the latter part before winter, and we have to do a sludge dewatering project, and that alone is $14,000.
You know what, that
Looks like-
68 probably just needs to be moved down.
The 50,424 is probably part of that, isn't it? Was it broken up on the 5425?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you can see where, right below that, you see 5425, the 50,424.
And they do that every year, correct?
Yes, we do it 3 times a year.
Okay.
So that's more in line.
And the 68,706 probably just needs to be split up, I'm sorry.
Needs to be what?
Split between the two,
Okay.
between the 5420 and the 5425.
So if you add the two, it's more like 70,000, which the 68,000 is more in line.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, we have some problems on that south side plant, correct? Just deterioration, sometimes we have to pump it in a different direction. No?
I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about.
The waste management down on the south side, that sometimes we end up having to move stuff in a different direction? Or was I misinformed?
When we have the heavy rains,
When we had, yeah,
that could be about almost what we have.
Yeah, we seem to be able to keep it pretty much under control. When we get a large inflow of water and everything, we'll slow down our pumps. But yet we're still able to process everything without upsetting the plant and letting it go on its way. But the only problems are replacement. It's an old infrastructure built in 1969, so. But we've been doing bar screen improvement, grid auger improvements, grid pump improvements, aeration line improvements. Yes, my blowers that actually keep the solids in suspension. We've replaced 2, AWA maybe helping us with the last one.
very good. No, I'm misinformed. They need to spend more time with y'all instead of other people who just like to complain.
Well, but that's an interesting point though, because my question, when it rains quite a bit, do you guys get quite a bit of inflow?
Yes, we can get up to 5 million gallons at a time, depending on how much it rains.
And the capacity?
Capacity is 2.6. But luckily, we're far enough away from the city that if we slow it down, it'll start backing up, but yet we're letting it go through at a slower rate.
Well, the reason I say that is because what that tells me is that our lines are probably in pretty bad shape, so you got a lot of water infiltration. When
Well,
it rains.
We don't get what we did because 2010, we did in situ form rehabilitation of our trunk lines because we were getting anything from basketballs, milk jugs, 2x4s, everything coming in, and we never found an opening on that line.
It's infiltrating somehow though.
Yes, somewhere, but we can't figure out where.
There's other, you can do some flow monitor, but I don't want to get into the specifics of that, but
Yeah.
I'll look
Yeah.
into that. I'll make a note of that too.
Make a note.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I didn't, I mean, you bring up a point and it leads to something
Yeah.
else.
That's right,
but
yeah.
that You mentioned that.
Very
But
good.
we'll look at that.
Thank you, Mr. Ramos. Next.
Okay, now I lost my spot again. Sorry, what?
Equipment hire and rentals.
Number
5430.
5430, okay. Equipment hire and rentals,
That goes.
500 was what we adopted. The revised was 1200, and we're requesting 1250.
This was in case of a storm, right? You said you had
Hurricane,
to.
tornadoes,
Mhm. It's just in
and
case.
flooding, in case I have to rent pumps, hoses.
Any other questions, council, on property services? Purchase property services? No? Okay. Other purchase property?
Communications, 5500 communications, 2017 we adopted 6,000. The revised is 2,183, and we're requesting 2,200.
This was, Jim did kind of like looking through a lot of the phone lines and he got rid of a lot of them that weren't, that were old and weren't even being used. So that was he canceled, I think, a lot of AT&T phone lines out there.
So is this gonna be lower?
That's why you see the jump from the 6,000 to the 21.
Oh, it's already included in the 22. So 22 would be whatever's left, I guess.
Mhm.
Okay, council, any questions?
Oh, how much do we get to cover?
Sorry?
How much do we cover?
5540 travel expenses, we adopted 1,200. The revised is 2,280, and we're requesting 2,300.
582 in travel.
It seems like a big jump compared to some of the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, and isn't this gonna be the part where AWA is gonna?
Yes, AWA is gonna be funding as far as.
$582.
So
You
it's
have
still
a.
at 1,800.
Mhm.
17, 18.
1218.
Where are you going, Smiley?
We go,
Where are you going?
okay, one trip alone would be now this covers for my employees, not for me.
Okay.
Because me, I'm being covered by them.
Right.
But to keep up their certification, they'll go to the annual school here in Corpus, and then that'll pay for the registration. Well, the registration comes out of something else. But for their meals, and I have 5 employees that need to go.
5 employees.
Yes. And then the other travel was also taken away by AWA, except for one employee that would be going to a hazmat recertification, and that's at his well, that comes out of someplace else. Meals are $41, and the hotel is $125.
Smiley, and do they go? I mean, do they?
Yes, they go, because that's the only way that they can get their hours.
For their license.
They have proctors there now that certify
State.
that you're there in class.
They're very
You-
strict.
Back in the day, it was an honor system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Now that after
changed
they,
that.
they send you out for lunch and when you come back, roll call.
You have to sign
Sign it back in.
They won't give you the certificate until you're there for,
Yes.
until the very end.
Until you're
Even
there.
to our monthly meetings like the one we're attending today,
It's still the
there's a
same.
chance that somebody might just pop in unannounced, just to see if we're having the meeting, if it's, we're following the rules and regs they set for those meetings to get those credited hours.
Mhm.
A lot of things have changed.
People are getting sneaky.
Advertising, we adopted 700, the revised is 136, and we're requesting 350.
What do y'all advertise?
That's part of the chemical bid. And then we also did 2 advertisements when we went out for the grid classifier at the south side. We had to go out twice, and it goes out to local papers, Corpus Christi Caller, and it also goes into trade magazines.
Council, any questions? No? Okay, on to the next.
5610, official administrative expenses, we adopted 30, revised 30, and there's nothing for 2018 requested. Membership and dues, we adopted 650, the revised is 581, and requested is 656. Where'd y'all get the $6?
Yeah, I was like, where's that 6 come from? Is it maybe
Well,
just a
We
missing?
had,
Since I'm missing an employee, if we would have hired somebody, I would have had to pay for that person. So if we don't get the employee, then it'll probably go down to the 581.
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
And these are membership and dues for?
Texas Water Utilities Association and the American Water Works Association.
Okay. And licenses and certification.
We adopted 225, revised is 222, and we're requesting 222.
Okay. Any questions? No? Next.
The following page, we have other professional services. The adopted was 37,000, revised is 34,647, and we're requesting 35,000.
What is other professional? You knew I was gonna ask. TCEQ.
TCEQ.
Which,
TCEQ.
okay, so what?
And I can tell you exactly what
Please
the
do.
fees are.
Because we're not gonna get away with just TCEQ.
No. Actually, to operate the 2 facilities, that comes out to $32,084.52. We also pay state fees to the South Texas Water Master of $1,000, and that is to water our golf course, municipal golf course.
So that was state fees for, and what was the other?
The first one was a
You said state
permit.
fees something,
Okay, the first one was the state fees to operate the north and the south side plant. And that was $32,084.52.
okay.
For fiscal year 2018, there will be a new line item for state fees, which the TCQ fees will fall under there.
Okay.
Okay.
Probably-
The next one was the state fees for the TCQ South Texas Water Master of $1,000. And that is the water that we clean at the plant and then we send to the holding ponds at the municipal golf course. And then we have the TCQ sludge haulers fee of $500. And then we have the TCQ stormwater permit fees of $400. And that's where you get the
Yep.
complete total of $33,984.
Yes, sir. Any questions, council? No? Okay, next.
5640 technical, we adopted 37,000, revised is 23,236, and we're requesting 25,000.
That includes our regular monthly samples. That is for carbonaceous biochemical oxygen demand, TSS, which is your total suspended solids, your ammonia nitrogen testing, your E. coli fecal coliform testing, your stormwater testing or metals testing, And that's $1,516 every month for 12 months for $18,192. And then once a year, we're required by TCQ, by our permit, to run testing on our sludge for toxicity characteristic leaching procedure, PCBs. That's a hard one to pronounce. Clean and filter testing, and that's $1,820. And then we do the stormwater metal sampling at $200 a facility, times 2 is $400. And then we have our DMR QA study sampling, which is EPA's way of making sure that we're doing it right, of $750. And then soil sampling from the golf course of $800, which comes out to $21,962.
Like on technical, thank you, Smiley. Like on technical, Mr. Ramos, I just find that, you know, every fund is kind of unique and technical. Like his is mostly, it's testing.
And that's what the girls are working on, actually. They're trying to make it so that you look at it and you know exactly what it is.
Because like the other one was software or subscriptions. And then that way, because then you, I mean, just in business terms, sometimes funds like this are just, oh, it's technical. Oh, it's technical, and they're not looked at. And that's why I'm asking every single one, because they're all different. So that would be awesome to.
That was one I kind of looked at when I was revising the objects codes classifications. And that was one that it's kind of hard to kind of break out.
Yeah.
I did like the first half, and I will revisit that second half
Yeah.
of the codes because I'm not satisfied with how some of those are
Awesome.
broken out. They need to be broken out.
Yeah, because and not to assume anything, but that could always be that fund that, oh, just put it there and nobody's gonna ask.
Yes.
And I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
You gotta be
I'm not
transparent.
either.
I really
I'm
feel
not
like
either.
this one should
I'm
just
not
be
either with that.
lab services.
Right.
Yes.
Make it simple. That's what everything in there
Yes.
is. But when I see technical coming from an IT background too,
Yes.
I think
Computer.
computer
Yeah,
stuff,
me
technical
too.
softwares, things like that.
But then
So-
we go here and it's
Yeah.
completely different, so yeah,
And
very good, thank you.
And also, at the back, like she said, the
That new,
Yes.
Yeah, the appendix will give you the definition. That's still the same old definition. A lot of things fall under there. Data processing, purchasing and warehousing, graphic arts, water testing, testing analysis.
it's too weird, it's
too general.
Yeah.
It's too broad.
Software
Yeah.
maintenance, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there that, yes, we can break it down, and those are my intentions.
Yeah, I was about to total all the technical when I was going through it, and I'm going, that's a huge, but now, then that's why you find me asking, and I will ask every single department, because I need to know why technical, you know, this is a lot of money, and a lot of them are big chunks.
I agree.
But it makes sense when you hear it. Okay, any questions, comments?
Nice.
Registration and training, we adopted 1,850, revised was 1,340, and we're requesting 2,000.
And AWA will cover $250 of that, so it'd be $1,750.
So that brings our requested to 715,514. Here, we're actually in the negative 91,329,
It's actually.
which is a good thing.
Which is actually a savings, which is.
Now
why
Smiley
we
gets
call
the
him
gold
Smiley.
star, not
That one-
Demetria.
That one with those AWA savings, it's actually 92,161.
Wow,
So
very
it's
good.
the other adoption.
92-1,
92,161. Those are with the revisions that y'all do not have in your notes.
very good. Smiley is the winner of the gold star. Thank you, Smiley, great job.
You'll see what it's like in 2020 when you have to do the permit renewal.
Oh yeah, I have a note about that. It's not a permit year, fiscal year 2020.
I'll take my star back.
Very good.
What page was it? She just, Ms. Carrasco asked if we could go over page 1. 128.
Oh, the
So 127 and 128, or?
fund transfers.
Okay, yes, on 127.
Okay.
You can see where we had adopted 1.2 million for transfers in 2017. And we're requesting 1,416,325. So there's an increase there of 216,325, which in essence is helping the general budget, M&O. And then there's also the 222,000 that was transferred to debt service. If I explained this correctly, Vanessa, this department, they're trying to transfer more. I think part of it was like.
They want to make the
issue-
debt self-supporting.
Self-supporting.
So like if this debt was for that fund, they want to have that fund pay for it. And what you do is that, you know, you can do more and more, and then, you know, you may be able to have less hitting your INS and more for your M&O, which would affect your general fund.
When they initially issued the CFOs or general obligation bonds, they used tax revenues or property tax and sales tax revenue. And now, maybe at the time, the utilities was not doing as good, maybe, so they didn't pledge utilities revenues. So now, even though they were for utility projects, so now they're trying to, now that the utilities is doing a lot better, they're putting some of that bond and having the utilities pay for a bigger portion of it, because it was actually for their projects. So that helps the general fund. Then on page 128,
Okay, well, hold on, quick question. Why did we remove the transfer to benefits?
Now you'll see it in the benefits part on the salaries. So if you may end up at the end of the year, though, there may be an amount if there's a vacancy, but I just didn't budget for it.
Oh, no, but you didn't budget vacancies.
I didn't budget it here, I budgeted in the salary part of each department. So if there is a vacancy, you're gonna see a savings on the salary part, and then you're gonna see an expense here.
Okey-dokey.
and then on page 128, I'll probably have to defer this one to Vanessa also, because there was one in 2016, a contractual payment to AWA, but not in 2017.
The AWA does have a bond, and the way that the bond is set up is that the AWA pays for half of it and the city pays the other half, the utility fund. Now last year, they knew we were going through some tough times, so they kind of waived the city from paying their part. And we actually had to have it in the minutes and everything, just saying that it was a one-time, you know, thing, because the bondholders, they will look at that and say, you know, hey, why didn't the city pay their part, so that the proper paperwork was filed and documented. But we did put it back in the proposed budget because the city is obligated to pay half of that debt service payment.
Which bond is this?
It's for the Alice Water Authority. It was a 2010 refunding bond.
2010.
Mhm. And it's not going to be on, it's not, it's on the AWA, you would see it on the AWA's budget.
And I assume all of you all know that what's the purpose of the AWA? Because I was just learning about all that too. What their role is and all this.
For the public that's watching, why don't we tell them?
You want to explain?
Let me see. The Alice Water Authority was started in 1963, I believe. It's a taxing entity, and it was started to help.
It's there for water improvement.
Yes.
That's what it's for, but in the last 3 or 4 years, they've used those funds to assist wastewater as well. But the primary purpose was to improve, use those monies to improve the water structure, water infrastructure.
It was first started for the pump station, correct? And then it built the water plant and all of that, correct?
The water lines from the Corpus.
To start to build the water lines from Lake Corpus Christi to the water plant.
They've kind of inherited some of the improvements for the wastewater department also, and which helps us out.
Right. They figure they work hand in hand, they might as well. And they're very, whatever they can help with, they're always more than willing and happy to help.
And how is it funded?
property taxes. That's their only source of revenue.
Property tax.
Okay, bye.
Okay, council, any other questions? No? All right. The, agenda item number 4, adjourn and or consider and act upon adjournment. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the time is now 4 o'clock on August 16th, and this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you so much, staff. Y'all are awesome. And thank you to everybody watching.
We apologize to the fire and PD. We'll get to you.
Yes.
Don't think you're off the hook. I may miss Friday.
Why?
My cousin.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That was the phone call I just
Do you know how to turn it off?
No, she's from San Antonio. I've seen her a few years ago. We actually in the same grade.
She's your
Yeah.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Had it figured out.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies, so much.
It's Wiley. Good job.
Expected more questions.
You did?
City employees does it take?
We had it all written down, Mr. Seasoned employee.
Right.
Was there 2,000? That was in 4?
Is that your phone?
What did I have to go now? Really? Still out here? The historically underutilized businesses.
That's what I kind of just trash kept on there. But I want to know like how this works, what breakdowns with one donor.